Hello everyone, welcome back to another stream on the channel. This time around it is a deadline stream and I am ready and roiling to go for this. I mean, I've been thinking about it all week, ever since I hit the button the day after. But first off, good morning to you all. Again, a different time we're streaming this time around. I am actually half an hour early than normal. So first off, let me quickly update the timer so we're on track. Do say hello in chat, show face. I'll try pull up one of you guys or two and just say good morning. So this is gonna be a long stream, so we have plenty of time to chat amongst ourselves, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty. I'll show you what I'm gonna do with my wildcard. I'll show you my game week 23, how I plan on navigating game week 24 to 31. There are a lot of questions that you guys are going to have. I don't have all the answers this time around because I'm kind of very focused and haven't really been looking at anything else other than a wildcard, I'll be deadly honest. So this is going to be a very interesting stream and I am looking forward to it. But good to see you guys, and we are also on the road to 10k. As you can see, I have finally put up a display to show the subscriber count, so we can be edging closer and closer to 10k as the weeks go on. So let's firstly bring up my game week 23 again. We have plenty of time to discuss what my wildcard is going to be looking like, and I promise you guys I will be showing you, but stay with me real quick and do show yourself in chat. Who do we have in here? We have Derek as usual, absolutely no surprise. Stefan is asking, is Palmer starting? Again, we'll get into that. Anish in here, FPL show, I like the way you play your game, I must say. Thank you, and Mary. Play differential is why we love you. Cheers, Sean. I'm bored of the play safe and sensible. Don't worry guys, there is, somewhat variation I want to say in my own wildcard. Again, I think by virtue of how the fixtures have landed by the double game weeks, there are going to be some staples for sure, but I promise you that it is, somewhat differential. I mean, particularly this game week, looks like I'll be going against the obvious captains. But hello to everyone in the chat. Who else we got in here? We got Ballers, we got Paul, we got Sam, NX as usual, Martadi, Arab, White. I hope you're all well, and thank you for joining me. Early days. But first off, game week 23, unfortunately, I actually think I was, a small bit unfortunate. I don't know if I want to say that, but I got the minutes right, particularly on Xavi, O'Reilly, Shirky, Gordon, I guess, even though he got subbed early, even Saka, but I did not get the results I wanted. Now, I think there's a small bit of hard looking there, I guess, if you want to call it that. And then obviously you have the other end of things where just not the greatest of picks. Now, before I continue, please let me know if the audio and visuals are okay. I have changed back to a different microphone, particularly for the how loud the audio is, and I've also have my monitor set up in front of me for the first time in a while. Usually I'm just on the laptop, but now I've actually extended my display because I have a new office set up. So a few things changing, but hopefully it is for the better. So let's continue. So that was my game week 23. Just to show you the current team, I've actually just chased price rises. As you can see, I've brought in a load of players that were rising. So whether that's the likes of Gabriel and Bumo, Fernandes, Enzo, Semenyo, Pedro, Mane, all players who are rising, and Shalaba as well. So this is actually not the team. What I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it right now, we're actually going to build my wildcard live right here. And that way, I know a lot of you guys would have watched my team selection, my transfer plans, but again, it is good to just recap on why I might be going with specific players and some of my thought process. And you guys can throw in your questions on the way. So there'll be plenty of room for questions, and I will get back to him. So do keep it in mind. Love the video from the car, mate. Yeah, I do apologise about the video in the car. Again, very unprofessional from myself, but sometimes it has to be done one way or another. And like I said in the comment, wind, rain or snow, we will be there no matter what. And I do like, just doing what I have to do to get it up. Because, I do work full time, so it is a bit more, not difficult, but I love doing this. It's never going to be difficult, but the way I have to manage it is going to be a bit more unusual than your conventional sit down and just hit record and edit for 2 or 3 hours. But that's how it is sometimes, and I find that the most enjoyable. Anyway, getting into the wildcard. First off, Why have I hit the wildcard button? Again, too many minutes risk players, in my own opinion, in my old team. Fixtures not aligning with what is to come from game week 24 to 31. And then just a lack of value in my picks. You know, I'm very, very big on, is that player good value? If they provide good value, I'm happy to go with them. And, you know, that's ultimately how I choose a lot of my players. What do you do for work? I actually, I'm becoming head of digital systems. But yeah, it is, you know, it's fun, and kind of ties in what I do here because, again, it is on the computer. But where was I? I've also gained 1.5 million in team value. Now, I know that does not probably seem a lot. Even right now, my team value is still shot. But given the players that I would have wanted to bring in, that could also be in the difference of 3 million in the grand scheme of things, because I've actually gained 1.5 million, but I probably would have lost upwards of 1 million. And looking at the players that I would have wanted to bring in, it probably was going to extend towards 3 million. So, I mean, considering my team value is absolutely shocking already, I think it is very, very important that I had to react, because there's no way I could carry on like this. And, you know, especially as we go towards the later stages in the season, you know, people are going to be wildcard and people are going to want to set up a team of 15 for bench boost. And if I don't have the value to bring in a team of 15, the bench boost is never going to look good. So, hello Elliot, good to see you. And morning Kev. Again, if you are just coming into and saying, well, do show face, I'll say hello in chat. And great to have you all involved. But right now, I'll get back to your questions. I just want to run through the current wildcard list. So, let's start. Where shall we start? I think that for me, and ultimately, just my advice if you are still contemplating your wildcard, I assume you probably would have clicked the button by now if you are on wildcard, but anyone who is still on the fence or looking to do it maybe before game week 26, again, make a wildcard draft. Compare versus your team now. How many points in the difference? And then see how it looks week to week. If you're going to outscore, I would say anywhere 20 plus in more than one game week. I mean, that's very telling. 20 plus points in any singular game week is worth up to 5 transfers. So, again, just you know, a different perspective on how to look at it. But let's start. For me, I just don't think there's any way I would be going without Haaland. I mean, I've bought him this season at 14 million. His current price is 15 million. That means I'd be losing 0.5 on him if I wanted to get him back. And that's just not worth it for me. I still feel like Haaland is a phenomenal option. I don't think it's any surprise that he's dipped. I mean, there was a point in time where I actually hedged my bets and went Salah and Haaland on my wildcard 8. And that was the period I was actually expecting Haaland to drop off on. I did not expect him to keep it up, and he did. But now he's finally dropped off, and it's unfortunate because if it had happened earlier, I think I'd be having a much better season. Again, if buts and maybes, but just my perspective. And Tottenham away, phenomenal fixture. Liverpool away, I mean, in Liverpool's current state, absolutely no complaints there. And then the big thing is for me, like, because he's likely to have a double in game week 33 and also game week 36 because he's blanking in 31 and 34, absolute no-brainer for me. And I just, no matter what structure I'm going to have, I cannot get rid of him. So Erling Haaland, like many others, the first player in the team for me. Secondly, Dubravka and the other keeper beside him is going to be Sanchez. Now again, like I spoke about throughout my videos during the week, there are lots of different deviations you can go on Wildcard. I actually don't think there's any one set route. It really is preference. For me, what I'm looking for is someone who plays in 31. Again, it is not all but confirmed that Chelsea are going to not win that fixture. Of course, they're only down 1 goal, 3-2 to Arsenal currently in the Carabao Cup semi-final. But if we're being realistic, I'm going to play the odds. I actually think Chelsea have a more of a chance than what the bookies are making it out to be. I've said it throughout, and a lot of my picks will kind of be around that, off the odd chance that Chelsea somehow do progress. Again, I actually feel like Chelsea have been on good form. New manager bounce as well with Rosinha. Great fixtures to come. Big win in Naples. I think it is very, very, you know, it's going to be important as long as they now build momentum. And when you look at Arsenal on the other end of the spectrum, sure, the results have probably not been as good, and they still are the best team in the league and still are on for the, you know, for the league. But I have to account for the magic of the cup. And with the magic of the cup, anyone will tell you anything can happen. So you have to account for it. So Sanchez is in for me. Dubravka to cover the game week 31 anyway, even if Sanchez were to somehow miss out if he was rotated, let's just say randomly, which I don't think is going to be the case. Sanchez, of course, plays game week 31. And they also both are likely to double in game week 33, which is good to account if I want to bench boost in game week 33. Again, these are all the little minute details you have to keep into account, even though they are not solidified. Again, because Burnley are out of the cups, I'm fairly sure. Therefore, they're likely to double in game week 33. So, that concludes the goalkeepers and Erling Haaland. And I just want to say, I'm not absolutely locked this game week. And again, lads, we'll cover Palmer, we'll cover captaincy. This is going to be an all-encompassing wildcard, because if I'm considering, they're likely going to be in consideration or part of your questions. So let's continue. I think the best thing to do, again, like I done on my video, is just go with the Arsenal guys. I mean, double Arsenal fence is a no-brainer for me. Like I said, I have gotten Jurrien Timber at 5.6 million. Another player that I actually have a lot of value on. And as much as my team value is completely shot, again, the reason for that this season is because I've just gone so differential. I started the season with Erling Haaland. I was an advocate for Bruno Fernandes and Brian Bumo. And these are two players who were heavily sold when they got injured or went off to AFCON. Started the season with no Gabriel, which is a player that a lot of people have value tied up in and contributed towards their overall team value. A lot of people saying that they see Arsenal conceding to Leeds. Fair enough. I actually think Leeds have been very, very good. I have to say, very, very impressed. But the thing is this season, and we'll bring up the odds for this game week. But how the season has went, and it's been very consistent throughout the season, I actually think you have to pick your battles. There's no real standout fixtures this season, I don't think, by how good the poorer teams have been. We've been targeting West Ham as, one of the poorest teams in the league, and throughout previous seasons they've actually been quite good. But, even teams like Burnley, Sunderland, Forest, they've made Tottenham look like one of the worst teams in the league. And usually that's not the case. Now, Tottenham are one of the worst teams in the league to watch anyway, even if it's not on a results basis. But, I mean, I actually think there's no easy fixture to say this season. And you really do have to pick your battles. And what I mean by that is you have to look at a fixture and go, whatever it is on paper, what do you think it's going to be? I think there's goals in this Leeds game. No doubt about it. For me, I'm not picking Timber and Gabriel necessarily for this one singular game week alone. Again, they have fixtures in game week 22 fixtures in game week 26 that make them an absolute no-brainer. Along with Timber being top of the XGI so far this season. I mean, he's just not returned as much as we want him to. And Gabriel, again, I don't need to sell Gabriel to you. Absolutely phenomenal at DEF CON. Bonus points, Magna. Double fixture in game week 26. Yeah, for me, it's no question about it. And if you want to go with someone else, I mean, go for it. If Gabriel had not doubled in game week 26, I actually would have went without him. I think he is the best defender in the game, but now he's coming in at 7 million, which is a respectable price in my opinion. And there are some other alternatives that I really do like. But for me, because of the double, no questions. Let's move on to the Arsenal midfielder. Now, a lot of people would be on Declan Rice. I'm actually all for Declan Rice. For me, Rice comes in at another player who's at a respectable price now. I believe he's 7.5 million, which is a heavy price to pay for a DM. Now, he's not only a DM, he's on set pieces. He's, he does take up positions in the top end of the pitch. And I'm all for it. But for me, now that we've got the confirmation of the double, for me knowing, in my opinion, the best, one of, if not the best, and a world-class winger, Bukayo Saka is going to make his way into the team. This will not be for many. And to be honest, I'm actually not going to be one who's going to try sell you Bukayo Saka. If you don't want to go with Saka, that's completely fine with me. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make points up on other people who don't believe in him as an asset. But for me, Leeds away, great opening fixture. First off, I've already owned them, so I've had the pain of the benchings, but I have to look at these game weeks going forward, not what has happened. And the biggest concern for many people will not be about how good he is quality-wise, but will be about his minutes. But for me, Arsenal are still on for the league. And their biggest pain point this season has been their attack, in my opinion. Particularly the wingers, they're struggling. But with the double game week announced, and again, we are still to get more information about how Arsenal's season looks, but from what I understand, they play Leeds today, which I think Saka definitely starts and gets very, very good minutes. I have no doubt about that. I think there actually is question marks on whether or not he starts this game in the semi-final with Chelsea. And therefore it's a 4-day turnaround with Sunderland, which you'd expect him to start again. Then it's a 5-day turnaround with Brentford. And then they have the cup fixture against Wigan, which I would expect him to be benched in. Then he's going to absolutely start the North London derby versus Tottenham. No surprise he starts, a North London derby for anyone. And then it's Chelsea, Brighton, and then we go into double game week territory. It actually has not been moved here, from what I can see. It is Brentford and Wolves in the double game week. So maybe not yet penciled in. But what my point is that his minutes, I expect, are going to be good for the foreseeable. Like, I do not see Saka being benched in these league games, in my opinion. FPL haven't even put in the double game week yet. But in the double game week, I think he can get 270s. And I'm happy with 270s. I think 270s with an explosive player like Bukayo Saka is better than a Declan Rice 290s. That is controversial. Very controversial. But again, he's a player. If he gets a return, lads, he's great for a bonus. And if you're going to give me two fixtures, 2 bites of the apple, 2 great fixtures, Brentford, Wolves, I'm going to go for it. And again, it is differential. I'm happy if you don't like it. You think Saka's going to be benched for the Sunderland game. Hardly gets 3 in a week. And it's a fair point, but again, I just think there's so much opportunity with Saka. So he's absolutely nailed. And then we're going to go to the other asset that is absolutely nailed in my team. Again, Saka is not absolutely nailed. I think there is a chance that explosive and Saka. Yeah, okay, maybe not so explosive. My point is, look at his returns though throughout the season. When he has returned, 11 versus Wolves, that looks pretty explosive to me. 12 versus Sunderland. And other than that, he's not been crazy good. He's been consistent in these games. But my point is, like if he is to get a goal, he's going to be on likely double digits. Again, maybe that is not the correct use of words, but I think in this run, particularly a double game week, he can be. Any Arsenal leaks? I don't think we're going to get any Arsenal leaks before the deadline. Next player, Bruno Fernandes. Nothing to say there. You know how much I love Bruno Fernandes. Throughout the season, I actually would have captained him in some of the early weeks, including the singular game week versus Chelsea at home, which is one of my proudest moments, I have to say. And again, Spacine says Saka 0 goals in 10 Premier League games. Yeah, we always spin up these narratives, but you know what? Every player in the league, particularly now, and it was a good point by Andy. I seen him speak on Twitter. He was saying, sorry, that's why it's not in there. Because they haven't won the game. Sorry, I'm absolutely tweaking. But I seen the Premier League say it, so I was just like, maybe they might put in some sort of provisional update. But anyway, going back to value and Saka. He's not scored in 10 games until he does. We've not seen anyone who's won the big boys be consistent this season, whether it's Palmer, Saka, Salah, and even Haaland now looks like a poor option. People are saying, keep the value or go for the value in Rice, but where are you going to spend that money? And for me, I'm not looking for, I don't care what they've done in the last 10 games. I'm looking to, what are they going to do in the next 5 for me? And for me, I think Saka has a good opportunity to do very well. And then just going back to Rob T, guys. Again, sorry, I know we're getting sidetracked, but Rob T's rest of season market projections. I'm just going to zoom in for you on this left column here. For the rest of the season, Saka is second for projected expected goals and assists, ahead of Salah, Bruno. I mean, ahead of Bruno is just, that's telling for me. It kind of backs up my thought process that I'm not going crazy. At least there's some sort of backing behind it. And sure, if you don't read into market odds, whatever. But even if, like, the opportunity for me is, I think it is likely because of double game weeks. Get a lot of them come in the next 5. I would like to say. So I'm very high on Saka. I completely understand if you don't like it. Just looking elsewhere on the list, by the way, Morgan Rogers, love it. Rob T stats are whack. Fair. Again, if you don't like him, that's completely understandable. It's hard to say something like this is whack because it's not telling you to pick anyone. It's basically saying, based on the data we have, this is what we expect and what the markets are saying. So I know that's just kind of like saying previous numbers are whack, but it is what it is. Like, I mean, anyway, going back to my own team again, just looking for the future. I don't care what Saka's done in the last few. Let's move on. Where to go next? So for me, I think the more I think about it, the more Enzo is probably, needs to be discussed a small bit more. I don't think it is a case of just slapping Enzo in and thinking he's going to do the job like we have in previous seasons. But, no, not previous seasons. In previous in the season, we spoke about Enzo. And everyone just kind of brought him in and he didn't return. But now everyone seems to want to bring him in and then it's no question. But I think it's actually fair to have a discussion. I think what justifies making Enzo kind of locked for my team is just the value. Again, it's why I always go back to it. 6.7. 6.7 million now in FPL. And I mean, the fixtures are just too good to ignore him. Even in the harder fixtures, Arsenal, Villa, Newcastle, I don't really have too many complaints if it comes to starting him. Again, he's not been great for DEFCON. But in the tougher fixtures, again, I'm going to highlight him here. City away, 16 DEFCON. Villa, 10. Everton, 11. And then some decent numbers in between, 8 versus Arsenal. What I'm saying is, it is possible for him to get DEFCON. Do not spam 6-7 in chat, lads. Come on. We're older than this, lads. Oh my god. It's too early for this. By the way, I'm not neglecting you guys. As soon as we get these players filled into my wildcard, we'll get to all your questions. I promise you. So stay put and get your questions ready. We'll be answering as many as possible. There's some children taking over Chai. I know, Kit. Tell me about it. So, look, for me, Palmer does definitely make Enzo a worse option. But I just do not see Palmer getting anywhere near enough consistent minutes. So if you're telling me week in, week out, Enzo has 30 minutes of pen share, happy days. I'll take it. And he has a very good in-play numbers anyway. So I have no worries about it, in my opinion. And for me, he's going to be in my team. This is where things get difficult. I'm going to actually put in Anderson. For me, Anderson is nailed. Great fixture in Game Week 31. Value tied up in Anderson. I say value, very little, but value nonetheless. Chai, is that a fresh trim? It absolutely is, what we say in chat. Got it yesterday. Thank you for noticing, Liam. Appreciate it. But Anderson is in. And the other person he rotates phenomenally well with is going to be Marco Senesi. Now, I've not owned Senesi this season. Senesi was one of the most popular picks earlier in the season for a good reason. He was, and it still is, getting the best DEFCON numbers along with very, very good XGI. I believe he's second for XGI and top of DEFCON. Fixture is starting to turn for Bournemouth. And to be honest, I actually don't see Bournemouth being any worse than they have defensively. I mean, conceding 2 versus Liverpool, 1 versus Brighton, 2 versus Tottenham, 3 versus Arsenal, 2 versus Chelsea, 4 versus Brentford, 1 versus Burnley, 4 versus United. And you look at Marco Senesi's returns, considering the amount of goals he's conceded, I mean, it's actually not been the worst. Again, that's just how good he's been at DEFCON. And he's just been an absolute magnet. Absolute monster of a player. 4.8 million. Now is good value for me to get in a player like Senesi. Now, the only debate I have with Senesi, the question is Hill better value? Now, I know I just spoke about value and how it's probably not that important, and you just pick the players that you think are the best long term, but if Hill is going to match him bar for bar, which I don't think he is. I mean, Senesi's just much better for DEFCON anyway. But for 3.9 million, much less money, like Sharp has said in chat. Early to a mullet? No, it's not early to a mullet, but I am thinking about growing out to top. You have to consider a player like Hill. You know, he's all the attributes that Senesi has, bar, I would say, you know, maybe 10% less likely to get DEFCON. Maybe it's higher than that. Road to 10k. The Janny members are in, spamming in chat. Thank you for joining the stream, Janny. Again, I actually went live a bit early, so much love to all you who are joining us. And again, this is the Wildcard special, and we are on the road to 10k. So much love to everyone in chat who is joining. And again, appreciate you, Janny. And for anyone who's looking to subscribe and hasn't already, do hit the like button and subscribe. Again, we are closing in on 10k subs, and we're inching closer and closer as we get to the end of the season. So much love to you all, lads. Again, really cool to see you raid in the chat. Thank you so much, Janny. Look at the chat, Choi. I'm here, don't worry. Look at the chat. I know you're looking to head off, Janny. So I did actually stay for the majority of your stream, Janny, before I had to head off and stream myself. But go and see your kids. I mean, it's so funny that you always stream early because you actually have a life. But us FPL nerds will be here till the deadline. And thank you to the nerds that are here joining us. But basically, for anyone who's just joined, I'll be answering questions in just a second. But we're running through my wildcard and some of my thought process. So again, last thank you to everyone who's just joined us. And to the 300 of you who are in here. Again, thank you so much for smashing the buttons. But let's go back to Hill. Again, phenomenal option. For me, what it comes down to is I don't think I would have him ahead of Marco Senesi. For me, it actually probably would be whether or not you want to double down on the Bournemouth defence and actually go with a Hill instead of an Anderson. And, you know, double up on Bournemouth and play in most weeks. 450 more till Chai hosts a massive party and we're all invited. Yeah, maybe I'll fly you all over to Ireland and we can all celebrate together. Whip out some champagne. But yeah, I don't think I'll be going with Hill this game week. And I'm going to leave that option open. And that will be for a poll, which I'm going to do now. Let's do a little poll. To everyone who's just joined, the question will be, who's a better option? Now, I need you to take out game week 31. I got Big Hill. Who's a better option? Now, I need you to look between now and game week 31. It's going to be Daniel Munoz versus Trevor Chalobah. I keep spelling his name wrong, lads. Who do you prefer? No, who scores more points? Game week 24 to 31. Get involved, lads. Smash the buttons on the poll. Trevor Chalobah or Daniel Munoz? Now, I actually think it is really, really, really close. And I'm trying to account the fact that when Munoz is back fully fit, Glasner is going to play him every single game week. Two cons to Daniel Munoz for me. I mean, Glasner is out. The morale at Palace is at an all-time low. It's no wins in 8 in the league. And he's just after coming back from injury. It's not great. It's not great. On the other hand, we have Trevor Chalobah. And again, one of the big things for me is the 10% chance of the double game week in game week 26. First thing to note. Second thing to note. Chelsea are actually somewhat good under Liam Rossini. The fixtures are the absolute best in the league. And he has a fixture in game week 31. So I don't have to book in a transfer. Whereas if I go with Munoz, I have to book in a transfer. The cons for Trevor Chalobah for me is I do feel like there's a chance he misses one of these games in game week 25 or 26. And that's the only con. I've no bone to pick with Trevor Chalobah otherwise. So, quite tough. 66% are saying Trevor Chalobah. I'm actually going to leave that run and we'll move on. Again, lads, I'll get to your questions in just a second. Great to see you so active in chat, even though I'm not even answering your questions. But keep throwing in your opinion. I'll actually try bounce off as many comments as I can. And then we'll get to answering some of your specific questions. But Chewy says, our defense is leaky, I can't lie. I don't know, Chewy. It is leaky, I agree with that. But is it going to be leaky in those fixtures? You know, I find it hard to say. And I still feel like we've to learn about Liam Rossini. The only thing about Palace is they can only get better from here because how bad they've been. Mateta going out. I feel like when you're on such a bad run of form, players like Mateta need to go because you know the morale in the training ground I can't imagine is great. You know, players looking to go, players coming back from injury. Mark Gay looking to go. Never a good look. And Steve Parish, you know, it is a big job, and to try and manage that with Glasner, who's also looking to go. I imagine it is you know, a breeding ground for bad morale. But let's move on from the defender pick. I need to talk about Brian Mbeumo. I think Mbeumo is one of the best picks in the game, but it's not a like for like comparison when you're comparing him to Rodgers, Enzo, Iliman Ndiaye, Semenyo. He now comes in at what, 8.5 million, and a bit more expensive. For me, I think there is a small bit of a question mark around early subs. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I still feel like he's going to get 75 to 80. Again, he's just after coming back from AFCON. Looks like he's likely to get that striker position, you know, which is phenomenal. For me, I still feel like there's a lot to learn from United. You know, they've been brilliant up until this point before Amarin in terms of expected goals. And now under Carrick, when they've played attacking football or transitional football versus City and Arsenal, we've seen great football. I need to see him under Fulham, Tottenham, 2 low blocks, West Ham, another low block, Everton. I mean, these are games that are, on paper, look great. You know, these are great fixtures in their own right. And West Ham, if I can't consider West Ham and Everton good fixtures, then what is a good fixture? But you have to consider, I'm trying to see how this actually plays out. And I just don't know if I'm absolutely sold on Mbeumo as a must in comparison to Morgan Rodgers, who I really, really like. And I also think with his 90 minutes, I think he's absolutely nailed for 90 minutes, and he has been throughout the season. You know, 90s, no question about it. The main man at Villa for me. Fixtures are better than United's in my opinion. And long term they are also. The best fixture in game week 31, which is the blank game week. That 0.7 or 0.8 cheaper. And then also, I think there is an outside chance on penalties. Now, I've spoken on my last few videos how I think that Rodgers has, you know, an opportunity for penalties. And again, why I've said it is because he's now the main man for Villa. Watkins injured. First off, actually, we need to talk about Watkins because a lot of people have questions about him. I'm not sold on Chelsea's ability to keep clean sheet, and that's fair. But the good thing about those guys who are at Chelsea, you know, they're all great for DEFCON. So, you know, it's not only the clean sheets. By the way, lads, for any of the new channel members, we've got new channel members emojis in, so do spam them in chat. You know, what are we expecting this game with green or red arrow? Throw it in. And do become a member. With the Choi memberships, again, you get your questions answered. And also, you get access to the WhatsApp group. Again, nothing gate kept in there at all. It's just a nice way to support the channel. So, do put in your emojis in chat. Anyway, getting back to Morgan Rodgers, I feel like he's a must. And for me, I'm watching him week in, week out. His shot volume is through the roof. So Rodgers is going to be in for me. The poll is actually still on 66% on Trevor Chalobah, 152 votes. Anyone who's not voted, do hit the vote button. The next player we're going to go to for me is going to have to be Iliman Ndiaye. Before we do that, I'm actually going to pencil in Mane and Krupi. I'm not sold on Mane and Krupi, I'll be dead honest, but For me, because I want to go with a big five in midfield structure, I really, really like it. The five in midfield are crucial to my wildcard and are musts. So Krupi and Mane are actually going to be in. Mane, I'm going to have for the double game week. Whether or not I play him is in for contention. Krupi, on the other hand, I expect him to get good minutes, even with the signings that Bourne have made. And I feel like Krupi is going to start most games, just whether or not he's going to get 70 plus minutes. 150 votes, 63 likes, lots of thumbs here to use. Appreciate it, Kieran. Do let him know in chat. The last midfielder spot, lads, I'm going to put in Iliman and Joy. Again, I've not wavered from my video. And the reason for this is I look at that midfield and I go, if I consider Rodgers an off chance to get penalties, and also Enzo Fernandes, that's leaving me with 5 pen takers in the middle, 2 of the best defensive assets in the game, and then 3 absolute of the best defconners in the game. What's that tell? That is telling me over a run of games, giving a bit of luck, covering the double game weeks in both directions. If Arsenal win, double game week in 26 in the Carabao Cup. If Chelsea somehow beat Arsenal, that's leaving me triple up on Chelsea, which I mean, it's not absolutely essential given the rotation that might happen. But also Iliman and Joy, who I could captain in that game week. I think it's so solid, lads, I'll be honest. And overall, collectively, as a draft, I think it's such a good team. And if I go with Trevor Chalobah, it also leaves me with 0.2 million in the bank. So, Joy, why do you have no money? Love you though. I just went so differential this season. Derek says, Elliot Anderson with a better striker. I can hear that as well. I can definitely hear Elliot Anderson, and it was the route I had initially. I just feel like with the 10% chance that Joy might have a double, I think I'd rather go down that direction. Anyway, I'm going to leave you take a second to hit the buttons and digest my wildcard. Leave your comments and questions in chat about what you think of the team. Let me take a swig of my water and a coffee, and then I'll get back to your questions. It is a solid team, lads. I really like it. Get the questions in, lads. Questions in. Okay, where to start? Again, apologies if I've neglected chat. I'm going to try bounce to it now. Liam says, what are your thoughts on Alex Jimenez, Adley, Rayan as Bournemouth differentials? First off, I have to say, I really, really like Alex Jimenez. Playing in that right mid spot for Bournemouth. My thing would be, I think he's likely to play right back sooner rather than later. I don't think the preference would be to play Jimenez at right wing. But my thing for me is, I just think, for that 0.3 more on Senesi, guaranteed DEFCON almost every single week and very good attacking numbers, I would prefer over Jimenez. And then on the other side of things, you have Hill, who's just such a good budget option. Who's also great at DEFCON. I would just much prefer it, Liam, personally. Douglas Luiz, Chai. I don't mind Douglas Luiz, I'll be honest. But for me, again, he's a player who's been stop-start for whatever Prem team he's been at. I know he kind of has to play given the injuries that Villa have, but I don't see him coming in and taking the ball off Rodgers, I'll be completely honest. I don't know how likely that is. Enzo, Saka, or Palmer and Rice on wildcard. To be honest, I can understand if you want to go Palmer and Rice. Palmer is a very good differential, but for me, I'm not confident in his minutes. One of the biggest reasons for me wildcarding is because I'm so unsure on my minutes of my old team. Thank you, Kit, for telling people to hit the like button. Much love. Something really wrong when Shai doesn't have Spurs players in his team. I think the only one I could potentially have is Dominic Solanke. But for me, it just doesn't appeal to me enough. The problem with Solanke is nothing to do with Solanke. It's more to do with Spurs. Let's bring up Solanke because, again, I do think that Spurs, we look at these fixtures and they are tough, but I think Spurs can only get better. We know how Spurs react in games like City and United. Not lost to United since 2022. Might I add, United fans? City have been... we've been putting on a leash for seasons now, but to be honest, I don't mind if they beat us this time around, which might be crazy for a few Arsenal fans. Newcastle, I don't think they've been great this season. And then we have the North London Derby, which we always say is a fixture where anything can happen. Arsenal are likely to beat us, but I actually don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Dominic Solanke on penalties again, as usual. And only 7.2 million. I don't think he's the worst option in the world. The thing for me would be when Champions League comes around, I think there is a case where Moani will start games. And that's enough to throw me off. Like, you'd really have to nail Solanke 90 minutes week in, week out for me to even consider him. Is Cucurella a good option? Absolutely. And he's one that I've considered. If I had the 0.4 million in the bank to get in Cucurella rather than a Chalobah, I think I'd be really tempted. But for me, I'm more than happy to go with Chalobah for the time being. And again, Cucurella is another player who I can see missing a game or two in that run. Will you have 5 free transfers for the blank? I think Saka is too expensive and risky with that lineup. Yes. So, of course, the goal is always to stack up to 5 free transfers. Whether or not it's achievable, I'm unsure. For me, I think what it comes down to is I'm going to get rid of Saka probably in Gameweek 27 in a double move to get in Mane. Again, I spoke about it in my transfer plans video and team selection. Why not Jose Sa over Dubravka? Now, the reason I've actually not considered it. Before today, I actually didn't have enough team value. Well, I had the exact amount of team value to do Chalobah and no Manoz. The thing for me is, now I have enough value to do Chalobah, 2 Manoz if I wanted. But it also opens up the door for me to do Jose Sa in for Dubravka, and I'll have the exact amount of funds. The reason I've not done it is kind of two things. Question mark over Jose Sa. Now, I think that's been shut down because Ortega is actually going to Forest. Massive news, by the way. Which likely means that Jose Sa is going to stay in that lineup for Wolves. But how good is that fixture in Game Week 31? I mean, they've got Arsenal, which, I mean, if they do keep a clean sheet, could be, a massive result for Jose Sa. The second thing is, for me, though, he blanks in Game Week 31. Now, I have Robert Sanchez to cover it. But in any given game that Sanchez misses, whether in this run, I would rather play Dubravka given the fixtures than Jose Sa. And that's just me. Again, the fixtures are a bit more difficult for Jose Sa. And the second thing is, Dubravka doubles in Game Week 33. So, as much as it might look good in the short term for the double game week in 26, I won't want Jose Sa in Game Week 33, and I don't know if that's a goalkeeper transfer I want to make. So yeah, I think Jose Sa is definitely a consideration for myself, but how many points is in it, I'm unsure. I think long term it might be a bit safer to go with Dubravka and keep money in the bank. I just want to touch off one thing, and that is Enzo Fernandes. Someone said in chat, it doesn't look like Rob T is very high on Enzo Fernandes, but if we look at the midfielders here, Enzo Fernandes is an 8. Let's not get it twisted. Really, he's going to play an 8 most weeks. He's not a 10. Just looking at the highest 8s in this list, I mean, he outscores a lot of them in terms of GA. I don't see Declan Rice on this list, which goes to show that he's higher than even a Declan Rice. He's also higher than an attacking player like Xavi Simons. So yeah, actually, even though he's not expected to do very well, he's expected to do better than a lot of the other 8s. Oh no, Rice is very high. Jeez, I actually missed that. I didn't realize Rice is so high. I'm tweaking. 6.3 for Rice and 4.3 for Enzo. Again, not too much in terms of You know, only 2 in the difference, but still. Yeah, sorry, chicken. I'm blind. Sorry, chat. Apologies. That is insane. Yeah, I take that back. So you're absolutely right. Rob T not very high on him. And I just want to go to this game week, by the way, on how the markets see this game week. Sorry, lads, I'm just thinking there. You know, I very rarely consider markets too much. But now that I'm thinking, I wonder, is there a route for me to go Brian and Bumo instead of Enzo Fernandes? Hold on now. Bit of live tinkering and thought process. Because again, it's a no-brainer. Obviously, you would much prefer Bumo over Enzo. Alright, let's say we're going to pencil in Brian and Bumo. I need to make up 1.5 million. One of the routes of making 1.5 million would be Hill in for Senesi, which I don't love, I'll be honest. He's seen the light. I'm a Brian and Buemo lover. You can't go without a Chelsea attacker? Exactly. That's my point. I can't. I agree, I can't. I still feel like he's a phenomenal option. But I'm just saying, in theory, if I wanted to bring in Bumo over Enzo, means I need to make up 0.6 million. So it either means bringing in a 7.1, bringing Saka down to Rice, and keeping Senesi, or doing Rodgers to Anderson. Hold on now. Gives me 1.8 million. 1.8 million, is that enough to get anyone who's worth 6.3 million up top and save me a transfer down the line? Thank you for subscribing, Travis. 6.3 million attacker, Raul Jimenez, Danny Welbeck, I mean, not bad. Tino Barry, Brian Brobby, Jurgen Strand Larsen. The fraud Saka is killing you. It's crazy how no one wants Saka. I get it, lads. I do get it. I mean, especially when you consider, you know, how he's performed. Do you know what? I would, like, if he had returned versus United with a goal, he would have had bonus points. He'd be on 10 plus points for this United fixture. I know it's if, buts, or maybes, but I guarantee you there would be no question marks on Saka. Even if he scored a penalty, I bet you people would be like, okay, I can see why you're doing that. Right now, it's just a case of minutes that people are like, you know, why are you going with Saka over Rice? But now Saka's at a respectable price. Good to see you, George, in chat, by the way. Much love, my man. Yeah, let's scrap that. You know, I can... The whole idea with going with what I had was how many minutes and penalty share that was in it. I really, really liked it. And DEFCON. I'm not going to waver. I'm very much like that. Like, I really believe... Sorry, who was in here? I can't even think. It was obviously Rodgers. Rodgers is not going anywhere. That's the first thing. If anyone else has any suggestions, though, other than getting rid of Saka, because I'm almost set on keeping Saka, I'll be honest. Like, Saka is going to stay, realistically. I can't not go with Enzo. Choi, rank these midfielders. Rodgers, Mbeumo, Semenyo, Royce, Wilson, and Enzo.
Hi Chai, tweeted you my wildcard. Would you change anything? Seems like so many different routes. I'm just trying to find the best. Mumo greater than Rodgers GW27?
Thank you, Jack, for the super chat. He sends us a £5 super chat. Like, sometimes I don't know what to say, lads, when you throw me money. I don't know how to react. I'm like, why are you sending me money? But again, really appreciate it, Jack. Much love for supporting the channel. And thank you for all you guys who are here. Again, there are a lot of streamers who I consider creating a bit better content than myself, and you guys choose to join me. But let's pull up Jack's dilemma again for anyone who did not hear. Jack says, who would you change on Wildcard? I've sent you my team on Twitter. There's so many different routes. Bumo to Rodgers, game week 27. Okay, let's quickly pull up Jack's team and make sure I'm getting the right handle. Here is Jack's team in front of you. So, Jack is actually similar enough with myself in terms of team. Very similar structure. He's actually gone down the route of Bumo and Wilson, which I think is a very nice structure to go down to. And also Evan Nilsson. This is where my team value is absolutely shot. His question is, there's a lot of different routes I could go. Bumo to Rodgers in game week 27. So, I really like this, Jack. I think overall, I actually had a very similar iteration to this. For me, I'm unsure on Wilson long term. I actually feel like there's a potential of him having, the boat might be missed on Wilson. I don't know if he can keep up this form. If you're confident on Wilson, great pick. I have no doubts in it. I just wonder, is there any possible way where you actually just go to Wilson to an Anderson? Because realistically, you've got 4 phenomenal defenders week in, week out. So you're not going to play 5 midfielders because you have Evan Nilsson. Therefore, you're probably going to play a 4-4-2 in most weeks. Therefore, Wilson is likely to be benched anyway week in, week out. If you're asking me, Rodgers is just almost a must for me. I'm so high on... I'm almost higher on Rodgers than I am with Enzo Fernandes at this point. Again, it is controversial. I'd also be Rodgers over Evan Nilsson. Again, that's just me. But is there a way that you can maybe knock down a Wilson? Get an Anderson? Whether it's Enzo Fernandes or Brian Bumo or Senesi down to a hill, is there any way that you can get Rodgers in there? But overall, I really like it. And you do raise a good point on game week 27 to just move Bumo to Rodgers. I don't mind that at all. What's the worst that could happen in 3 game weeks with not owning Rodgers? I actually don't think he could be stung too bad. But overall, very, very strong team. Jack, I'd give it an 8.5. Again, I have to give it an 8.5, less than a 10, because if it's going to be a 10, it has to be my team, because I would just copy your team otherwise, unless you had crazy team value. But very nice team, Jack, and thank you for the super chat. Yeah, Rodgers is a season keep. I agree with that. And Semenyo. Let's speak about Semenyo. Semenyo is a great pick. I actually expect him to do quite well versus Tottenham in that game versus Bourne. He done very well. Well, I say he done very well. He returned versus Tottenham at least. For me, with Doku's injury, he becomes a great option. Just on wildcard though, because I'm going to be someone who can't pencil in too many transfers. Realistically, Gabriel, Timber and Saka are not going to play that game in game week 31. Let me quickly bring back Enzo Fernandes. Also, Mane is not going to play that game in 31, and also Haaland is not going to play that game in 31. That leads me with 9 players in game week 31 as things stand. Because I cannot be certain of Kroupy's minutes in game week 31, let's just say 8 fixtures. But see, between game week 24 and game week 31, I have 7 transfers. I have 2 banked up already. So that leaves me 9 transfers between now and then. I don't know if I want to bring in a player that I'll have to transfer out like Semenyo, who's definitely going to blank in 31, it looks like. Can't score free kicks every week. Kuna to Enzo and Foden to Bruno, love that. Sorry guys, I know I'm not answering too many of your questions. Let me get back to chat. Mane over Thiago? Absolutely not. I mean, if you have Thiago now and you're not on wildcard, just hold on to him. Start 2 of Mukiele, Alderete, DCL and Tarkovsky. If I'm being honest, I'd be almost tempted to play both Mukiele and Alderete. Sunderland are tied top of the clean sheet possibility this week at 44%. Tied with Arsenal, which is very, very high. couldn't Pedro be the best pick over the next 4 game weeks? I've no doubt that Pedro can be a very, very good one. I'm trying to look at it as it is now, though. And, I just don't know what Pedro's minutes. I see a lot of 70 minutes there, in my opinion. I see it likely. Just to go to chat, by the way, I hope you're enjoying the stream. Let me know where you're watching from. Again, whether it's a different country, whether it's in your car, in the kitchen, making breakfast. Let me know specifically where you're at. FPL Sharp says, that's why you're a pro and I'm just a schmo. I'm no pro. I just go with my opinion and stand firmly on it. Jack says, lol, thanks. Yeah, I don't think I can miss out on Rodgers for more than 3 game weeks. I'm a United fan, so I'll probably swap it then. I hear it, Jack. It's very hard sometimes when we use emotion in FPL. Your shower, I hope you're not in my shower, Kieran. You feel like the lap starts today? I think it is definitely a probability. Think Sunderland will be as solid without Xhaka. Struggled last week. They did struggle last game week. But again, at home, I feel like it's a different kettle of fish. Algeria, that's so cool. Aldaloid, Australia. Why don't you have Bumo? Bumo is a bit expensive for me, considering what I can get. I mean, the difference of 2.4 million of Enjoy, who's on penalties, versus Bumo. I feel like, it is not the same comparison. Tuned in from Pyongyang. Hold on a second. Pyongyang. I was thinking. I didn't want to say it to offend anyone, but I was thinking it was in North Korea. Imagine, kid. Watching from Sweden from the couch. And the next question is, are you watching me on the big screen or on the laptop/phone? Sigurd is in Iceland. Very good, Sigurd. Abal is in India. Netherlands is Visser. You forgot to rank these mids, says Cara. Rodgers and Buemo, Semenyo, Royce, Wilson, Enzo. Sorry, Cara. I would actually go Royce, Rodgers, Mbeumo, Enzo, Wilson. Again, you have to account for value though. How much money do you have in the bank? 0.2 million. Sorry, I'm after putting in Hill by accident. It's actually meant to be Senesi. Apologies. And you know what? I'm very confident that I'm going to go with this team, the Mbeumo-less team. I'm actually going to make the transfers because I've actually not made these transfers yet because price changes. Nepal, very good. You're watching from Germany. Anton, hello Anton. He says, what are your thoughts on... Hold on, I'm just going to move that over, slip it. What are your thoughts on replacing Palmer, Shirky, Thiago, Watkins with Pedro, Fernandes, Rodgers and Evan Nilsson for a -4? Again, Pedro's just so bold. It would mean... it would set me up good for a bench boost in Gameweek 26. My bad if you already answered. I actually feel like it's very hard to get rid of Palmer this game week. But because you've got Watkins... Look, on Watkins, lads, I feel like it's very, very likely that Watkins misses out this game. I know there's talks of him, being fine after the scan, but from my personal experience and knowing hamstring injuries, I've never seen a player recover from a hamstring injury in a few days. Never. And never in my life have I returned from a hamstring injury either. I've pulled my hamstring twice, even a little niggle. I've not returned in a week, so again, I know the professionals do everything in their life to try get back to fitness, but I don't feel it's likely he starts. I could be completely wrong. Fishin says, laptop, bro, my wife is on the TV. Very good. Should I start Foden or Gordon? Probably Foden, I want to say. Where are we? Again, I'm just going to take another sip of my coffee. Sell Saka for Rice? I'm not going to. I'm actually I'm 100% of the way there from my wildcard. I'm just not going to click the button yet in case we somehow get some sort of leak. Let me go back to the timeline, guys, or ladies and gentlemen, in case there's any ladies who are watching. By the way, I got a comment on my last video. Someone saying about, me always referring to lads. Again, I always bring this up because it does irk me, I have to say. But when I refer to lads, ladies and gentlemen, lads refers to both genders, not only fellas. In Ireland, we use lads to refer to a group, and that group usually contains both ladies and gentlemen. So I do apologise if I've offended the odd few, but what I'd say to that is, I don't know, grow up. Like, I mean, we use lads over here. It's a load of woke nonsense in my opinion. Anyway, getting back to the timeline. Lads is a non-gender specific term in Ireland. Exactly, Kit. Tell him. Looks like Fran is locked in. He's done Foden to Enzo, Nico O'Reilly to Maguire, and Bruno Fernandes is in. Maguire is another player that I have looked at. In previous seasons, I've actually been very high on Maguire. You know, you would have seen me bring him in as a punt. Why I like him is because decent for DEFCON, very cheap price, and as you know, Slabhead is very, very good for attack and threat. So I really like Maguire, I have to say. Sorry, guys. The problem with Maguire for me is I don't know how structurally sound this United defence looks under Carrick. Not that it matters for a 4.2 asset, but just something to keep in mind. And also, would I not just prefer to, you know, go with a Hill at that point? Probably better for DEFCON and much cheaper. I say much cheaper, 0.3, but in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, I do like that from Fran. Anyone who watches me knows how much I rate Fran as a manager, and he's absolutely smashing it this season. Where else can we go? You sure you don't want João Pedro? I just don't like the questions about whether or not he's going to start this game week. If you told me João Pedro is going to get 330 minutes in the next 4 games, I actually think I'd consider it, but I just don't see it likely. Nabad says, thank you for your reply on my comment on your last video. I really learned a lot from you. Great to hear. That's such a nice comment. Your content always feels so refreshing and differential. I hope you smash it for the rest of the season. Thank you, Nabad. That's very kind words. And I am also hoping that I can smash it for the rest of the season. Again, I am looking to reignite my season on this wildcard, lads. That's why I'm looking and happy to take a stab at doing something different. At the end of the day, lads, a lot of you guys mightn't be up for the wildcard 24. But what is good to see is I'm going to be like a test dummy for you guys. It's either going to go 2 ways. You're going to look at my team and go, my God, thank God I didn't wildcard in 24. Or it's going to be the other way around. You're going to be looking at me making massive gains week in, week out. I hope it is the second option, but let's see how it goes. Okay, let's do another little refresh on the timeline. Do you see Spurs scoring? I always see Spurs scoring. Okay. By the way, lads, again, this is completely separate to the FPL, but I've actually started my Accutane. I spoke on other streams, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know about Accutane, it's for your acne. But basically, I've been struggling with my acne for a few years now. And I actually went on Accutane. And it's been almost a month now. So if you're looking at me and I'm using my Vaseline religiously, it's because my lips are so chapped from it, because it dries out all your pores. So just if you're wondering why I'm always Vaselining up. And also the black coffee does dry out my lips if you're wondering. But yeah. Hi Choi, should I start Mukiele or Timber? I already have Gabriel. I would do everything. I would actually bench any forward that's not named Erling Haaland or Saka or Bruno this game week for Mukiele, Gabriel and Timber. Just my opinion though. Thoughts on Igor Thiago? Or Igor Jesus? I don't mind it personally. The only thing is I just don't love it. It's not bad at all. Bourne, yeah, Bourne's a great option. I mean, he's another player who I think falls in the category of Iliman Ndiaye, Enzo Fernandes, Rodgers, just 90 minutes week in, week out. And penalties. Who are you captaining? So that's the next thing. Let's talk about captaincy and let's throw up a poll. Game week 24 captain. So we have the big three and then other. Who you guys got? I am on Saka captain, lads. And I'm firm on it. 2 seconds ago, I was just going to grab some tissue. Sorry about that. Do vote on the captaincy poll, guys. Let me know what you're thinking. I'm fairly set on Bukayo Saka. Again, I'm not gonna try advocate Saka, but again, like I said, I just got a feel in this game week. Leeds is a nice fixture for Arsenal, in my opinion. Quickly, let me check StatMoose out of curiosity. How is Saka done versus Leeds in previous seasons? I just feel like he's done well. Maybe it's some sort of cognitive bias that I'm not aware of, but 3 goals in the last 5. Jeez, his minutes versus Leeds in the last few seasons have not been good. 77, 67, 81, 31, 52. That's not a great look. Anyway, I see him starting this game. Different circumstances. Leeds are actually very good this season. Hi, Shai. I picked 2 on wildcard. Daniel Munoz, Senesi, and Mukiele. I would go with Senesi and Munoz if you can stretch it. Shai, what do you think, says Peter of Van de Ven? Will he start? It's a weird one, Van de Ven. I actually thought it was very unusual he missed out. I wouldn't be playing him this week anyway. Don't be spamming 6-7 in here. Dan, come on. I am unsure if Van de Ven's going to be start. I've actually not heard an update. If you had the funds, would you switch Semenyo or Bumo instead of Rodgers? If I had the funds, I don't know what you mean by that because I kind of do have the funds to do that, but I would swap Semenyo. Again, just looking at Gameweek 31. Saka captain, he hasn't hauled since he was under 13s. That's okay with me. I think he's going to haul this game week. Sorry, Choi, if you haven't covered, but what are your thoughts on Matty Cash's differential? Sorry, I completely missed that. Now, that's been one I've been meaning to get to. For anyone who knows, you know I'm a big Matty Cash advocate. I think he's a phenomenal option at 4.8 million. Again, great fixtures, always significant attacking threat. Fixtures are there. Villa are, I guess, on for the league. I still don't know what you guys think of that. But, yeah, no complaints about Matty Cash in my opinion. What would be my 2 cents on not making me go Matty Cash? Again, I suppose it's the inconsistent DEFCON numbers. Like, if he was closer to getting more 8s, or even the odd DEFCON, you know, I think I'd be a bit higher on Matty Cash. I don't exactly look at Villa as a good defence either. And also, when you compare him to Senesi at the same price, you know, you're not comparing him to Anderson. Well, it's only 0.2 in the difference. Maybe you are. And maybe if I could actually stretch to a Matty Cash instead of Anderson, I'd be there, but it's just the consistent DEFCON, lads. Yeah, if Chai brings in Cash, put money on him scoring. Cash is such a good option, man. But again, the rotation of Anderson, Senesi, Chalobah just works really well. But don't mind Cash at all. I think he's actually a brilliant option. Why not Mateus Nunes? Okay, this is one that's been brought up by AMR a few times. He is guaranteed mins. I also really like Mateus Nunes. The problem with him is he doesn't fit, one, my team structure. I can't afford a 5.4 million asset unless I want to get rid of Trevor Chalobah. I do not like fixtures for Game Week 24-25. And also, he's going to blank in Game Week 31 versus Palace. And that's just another player I'll have to pencil in a transfer for. So, for me, it doesn't suit it, considering I'm early on the wildcard. Overall, not the worst move if you're, maybe looking to dead end and you don't mind using transfers to wildcard him out. But for me, not for me. And you know what? I will be bringing in Liverpool assets before I will be bringing in City ones, by virtue of how the fixtures are. Let's quickly bring up FPL team actually while we're at it, and take a look at the fixture schedule to come. FDR. By the way, this is my favourite FDR. I feel like everything from the colours to how the blocks are laid out and the teams, so appealing to the eye. And to be honest, the only one I look at. Start Van Heck or Keane. To be honest, I would start Van Heck, home fixture. Not much in it though. My twin is being all hungover and sleepy. I need him to wake up and lock in. In 1.5 short from your team, would you swap Saka to Rice or Semenyo? Or would you try save 1.5 million elsewhere? Well, you can. One of the things you can do is doing Senesi to Hill. I actually don't mind that too much. Saka to Rice is your safest bet. I just feel like I can captain Saka this game week, so I'm going to go with him. No Buemo, Jose, as things stand. Choi, if you had an extra 1 million in the bank, what moves would you make? I guess you do have 1 million in the bank. If I had 1 more million in the bank, what would I do? I would be very tempted to do Senesi down to Hill and try bringing a 6 million forward. The reason I love that is because, again, it saves you the transfer in game week 31. Because you're not going to keep Mane for game week 31. He's one of the pain points that is a booked in transfer. The only reason I don't love that at the same time is because you're likely going to want to stretch to Thiago when his fixtures get good. And therefore, again, a 6 million striker does you no good until then. But other than that, I think you could definitely do a Rodgers to Mbeumo. Maybe. At a stretch. Boys, side, do you think Spurs score against City, Troy? Absolutely. We always score versus City. More than Chris. Hello, Chris. And everyone else. Let's go. Yeah, very excited for the stream. And again, the wildcard is active, so it makes it even more enjoyable. Again, I'm really hoping this ignites the second half of my season. Who are the 6 million forwards? Good question. Let's pull up 6 million forwards. Yeah, it's a shame my team value sucks. I just wonder what I would have done with more team value. 6 million. Let's go 6.5 down. Calvert-Lewin top of the tree. Barry starting to get quite good. Raul Jimenez was actually decent fixtures coming up. Somewhat decent anyway on penalties. Who would be my pick? Thank you for subscribing, Lus. You know what? I just wonder, even though it's not happened yet, Jurgen Strand Larsen. Brian Brobby is an option. I think I would be really tempted with a Barry. I'll be honest. Not because the fixtures are, phenomenal for Everton, but again, he's going to be rotating with your midfielder, so it's not a big issue. Danny Welbeck is another obvious one. Problem with him is his minutes in recent time. And then you have Calvert-Lewin, who's just solid for Leeds. I actually think I would go with Barry. Again, it's not overly appealing. Igor Jesus is an option, even though he's on penalties. I think Barry, for me, I would just take a punt. Jesus is not bad, especially if he is on penalties. But I don't know if he takes him ahead of Anderson, personally. Anton says, do you think Pedro will start today? I don't know what to do with my team if I keep Palmer. I'm going to lean on the side of I don't think Pedro starts today. Again, that's not to put anyone off. But I do think Rossinier loves Delap. You're on wildcard going with Igor Jesus. Very good. Simi says, Mateta leaving the Premier League, one of the best to do it. Yeah, what a shame. Chris says, would you rather start Virgil van Dijk to Senesi, Chalobah, Munoz, or Watkins to Krupi, or even just roll? For what it's worth, Chris, I don't see Watkins starting this game week. I actually think Virgil van Dijk is a good hold for the future. So I would rather get rid of Watkins, but again, maybe you want to go to a striker who is a bit more of that caliber of Watkins over Krupi. Do you think a Yari instead of Ndiaye? A Yari, let me quickly bring up a Yari. How much is he? 4.8. Jeez, I didn't realize he was so cheap. Again, it looks like his minutes have been good throughout the season, but the problem with Brighton players is that they never ever consistently start. Jeez, he's even been good for DEFCON. I didn't realize he was so good for DEFCON. Little hidden gem there. 4.8 million. Could be your poor man's Anderson, which is even poorer manner than a lot of the other options. But yeah, he looks to be a great option. Decent attacking threat looks in terms of numbers. I'm surprised he's not one that's been spoken about a bit more as a 5th or 8th attacker. Definitely an option. Again, I think if you're especially, you don't mind playing him as a 5th attacker. Yeah, great bench shout. Chalobah or Senesi? Who is a better pick? For me, it's Senesi because of price. Chai, be honest. Are you one of the I want City to win to hinder Arsenal, or do you actually support Spurs? I'll be honest, Davis, and you're going to hate me for it, but I absolutely want City to beat us. And it's okay if you're not for that. By the way, lads, I'm just going to move into the natural light a bit better, so the light and the small bit better. But yeah, sorry, Davis. I'll be completely honest. If you're asking me, I would roll over for City today. The reason for that, and I know we're starting to get into relegation territory, but I actually think City are going to beat us regardless. Let's just take this from a non-biased perspective. Spurs in the league are very, very poor. I just feel like City are due a big win versus also. You know, it's been a while since City got a big win versus us. And also, no Mickey van de Ven, it looks like. Again, I could be wrong on that. But by how things look, I'm unsure if I see him starting. Secondly, no Pedro Porro. Not that I would have wanted him to start anyway. I'm actually a Pedro Porro hater. Hater mightn't be the right word, but you know, nonetheless, a lot of injuries. Solanke, who can't play back-to-back games. So I do think our team is not up for the City game anyway. So for what it's worth, whatever I think City are going to beat us. Yeah, imagine we won the Champions League and got relegated. Imagine. Surely there's something in that, like, you're not allowed to be in the Champions League. Also, another thing is, again, obviously if you win the Champions League, you qualify automatically for the Champions League. I assume that's the thing, right? Like, if you qualify for the Europa League, you get if you win the Europa League, you automatically qualify for the Champions League. There is a thing if you win the Champions League that you automatically qualify for the Champions League. I'm not even gonna doubt that as a thing. Let me know if I'm wrong on that. Are you overlooking Haaland as an option? Maybe, but the thing for me is I think Bruno, Saka are as good options, especially when you look at, you know, Rob T's projections for this game week. I mean, particularly Solio's. You know, they're very close. There's only one point in the difference in terms of on paper anyway for the market projections this game week. Bruno leads the chart 6.3. Haaland 6.1. In comparison, I'm going with Saka, but it's only what, 0.9? Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I assume so. Was that the year that Chelsea knocked out Spurs out of the... Yeah, sorry. Why did I think that was Europa League? It was Chelsea when they won the Champions League, knocked Spurs out of Europa League. Or knocks out the Champions League qualification. Something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. Who are you captaining, Saka or Bruno? I'm captaining Saka. Would you start Evan Nilsson or Rodgers? That's a tough one. I would start Rodgers. Again, love the fixture. Should I start Reynildo versus Burnley at home or Enzo? It's almost impossible to bench Enzo this week. But again, looking at this graphic, like look at how high Mukiele and Alderete are. I would actually say play Enzo because Reynildo's not so good for DEFCON. And his minutes are less secure than the other two. Again, let's do a little scroll on the timeline. Again, I want to make sure we're not missing anything. Are you not considering leaving out Haaland on your wildcard? You aren't captaining him for the next 3 weeks. I might captain him versus Fulham in fairness. You know, I did make a Salah draft, by the way. And the reason I made a Salah draft was because how Gameweek 31 looks. Again, Haaland blanket in 31. But the reason I can't get rid of Haaland is because of the doubles that are to come. Morning Geezer, says Harry. Hope you're good. Who would you start out of Richards, Mukiele or Senesi? Or would you play 2 of these and drop Dewsbury Hall? Oh, I would absolutely play Mukiele and Senesi and drop Dewsbury Hall without a doubt. Is it a double in Game Week 26? Yes, absolutely a double. Ahmed or Shirky? I actually prefer Ahmed. Thoughts on Sar? Looks like he could start up top today, Fassel. Alright. It is 20 past 12. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to confirm my team for now. So you guys can see my team from a team selection point of view rather than a full transfer plans point of view. This means, because I'm going to be losing the team value on Rice and Mo, I'm going to be locked in on going with Saka. And you know what? Balls to the walls, lads. I'm going to do it. I'm actually confident. You know me as a manager. I'm more than happy to take a punt. But also, I feel like there's some good value in Saka that is differential. That, you know, the EO, I feel like it's a nice route to go. So I'm going to bring in Enzo back into this team. Or not Enzo, NDI. And leave it as is. The last question, again, just the last consideration for this wildcard. Hill, Anderson for NDI, and upgrading Mane. Or bringing Dubravka to Jose Saw with the 0.2 in the bank, and it locks me out of doing Shalaba to Manoz. Last considerations. Don't know. What do you think about Captain and Palmer? I still feel like Bruno's a better captain because of minutes. But if you told me guaranteed that Palmer was going to start, I think I'd be tempted. Not a strong wildcard shot. You don't think? Will Palmer start shot? If I'm giving you my opinion, I think he's likely to start. Irish Pithier says chai and a salute emoji. Much love. Love you chai latte, says Neil. Start Rice or Brobby? Absolutely start Rice. Which three of Miley, Krupi, Hall, Alderete and Semenyo would you play? Krupi, Semenyo and Alderete. Very hard to bench Hall, I won't lie, but okay, I think I'm going to go down this route, lads. Again, I just something opened up in my mind. Let's just say Ayari from Ndiaye, Senesi to Hill. Again, this is a lot of compromises. This is where my team value is a problem. How much in the bank does that leave me? 7 million. 7 million is enough for not Evan Nilsson. Okay, there goes that idea. Anyway, let's go back. Senesi back in. And let's confirm it. Iliman Ndiaye. By the way, I think he's a very underrated pick for the price. I think people forget how good he was before he went to AFCON. And then lastly, Mane. Again, I'm not absolutely sold on Mane, lads. And there's still a chance that I go with Jose Saw instead of Dubravka now that the rumours are gone. Anyway, let's lock that in, lads. Again, the wildcard, here it is in a team selection format. I'm actually going to play 4 at the back this game week. Benching Krupi. Saka in and captained for Krupi. Actually, I want to format the team in a way that all the Arsenal guys are on the left. Hold on. This is going to annoy me. Now. And I want Rodgers here like that. And I want Chalobah in the middle where Senesi is. Sorry. The most least problematic thing ever. Okay, now. And now we put Senesi back in. Perfect. See a blue. Actually, no, I want the blues on the right. Lads, I'm sorry. This is the most inconvenient thing ever. It will annoy me though. Ah! No. I hope you guys can see what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to line up the colours. Hello Liam, good to see you, man. Hope you're well. Like that. Yeah. And like that. And then yes. Okay. That is optimal right there. And then we'll put Krupi first bench, Anderson second bench, save your team, captain on Bukayo Saka, vice captain Bruno Fernandes, and I think I'm pretty set. Who does Sanchez play in Gameweek 26? Leeds at home. So I won't want to play Jose Sa realistically. What is the reason to why people think Pedro will be benched? We have played really good recently and isn't injured. So the problem with Pedro is how fast these turnarounds are. And also how easy the fixtures are. Chelsea have such a big squad. And Rosinha has had the lap at Hull. So he really likes him. Now that Palmer is back, and of course Pedro can play the 10, it actually kind of takes minutes off of Pedro in my opinion. So that is why I think, and you know, Pedro hasn't been great for minutes this season anyway, even under a different manager. A lot of questions about Captain and Palmer, lads. I didn't realise he was so popular. I quite like it. I do like it. I actually think he's going to start. I just don't know if he's going to get more than 70 minutes. Like, it's really weird how he was playing back-to-back games, getting some sort of 90s, and then suddenly missed 2 games in a row. I know it was a different injury, but... And then the question marks of him needing surgery at the end of the season. I mean, it's just not ideal. And to put the captaincy on a player like him, unsure. Anyway, guys, there is the wildcard. How does it look? Let's rate it in chat. Let's do... How do you rate my wildcard? Out of 10. Hello, Robert. He says, what about you go for Mukiele plus Evan Nilsson? I think Evan Nilsson is a good pick. Evan Nilsson is a great pick, but I actually don't prefer Evan Nilsson over NDI. If I'm being honest. Again, NDI is more nailed. 5 says Jesus. Oid says 9. Okay, if you're given a number, how would you bump it up to a 10? And I assume it's going to be Saka to Rice and not captain him. But I hope you can see what I'm doing, by the way. Maliki 7, Kurt 9, Moot 8, Sam 9, Raphael 8, Fanik 7, Owen 8.5, Rio 8, Rice over Saka and it's a 10, says Zeb. 8.3 is very specific, Derek. JC says 9. 8.7 says Chris don't like Saka. I hear it. Wow, a lot of high ratings. Yeah, I'm surprised it's a bit higher than I would expect it. Nathan says, should I start Wilson or Thiago? I would start Pentaker for me. Not a fan of Rodgers with their midfield injuries. That's interesting, Old. Saka to Rice and Captain Bruno for a 10. Nice one. Davis, let me know as an Arsenal fan, or any Arsenal fans in chat, how do you feel about Saka as a pick? Are you high on Saka? Do you still think he's an option for FPL? Or are you saying he's a no-go? I'll be interested to see what you think. I don't see the value in Saka. I don't see the value in anyone at this point, lads. Like, if you don't like Saka as an option, I mean, Who do you like as a big buy option? Alright, I think I'm actually going to post my team. I'm going to do one more refresh on the timeline. Why are you not starting more Mane? Bournemouth defense isn't good. Fair. Maguire a higher clean sheet chance than Chalobah. That is kind of crazy. Is Chalobah... This makes me consider things, lads, when I see things like that. Like, I could go to Harry Maguire from Chalobah. How much does that open up? 1.3 million. 1.3 million. Nah. Thoughts on Buendia? Thoughts on Buendia? I think he's a good option for sure. He's starting to get consistent minutes. For sure. I don't mind Buendia at all. Free kicks. Any more news on Watkins? Would you take a -4 to take him out? No weak foot. If you, I wouldn't take a -4 if you have a full 11. If you don't have a full 11, I would take a -4. I don't think he's going to be fit to play this game. This is an interesting thing from Jesus Questions. He says, I have Saka and I am 508 OR in the world. Jeez. My team value is 105 million, so I can afford it and still have a great squad, but I wouldn't have him on Wildcard. Understandable. Completely understandable. Davis says, I feel like the penalty situation is extremely sensitive. Probably not worth the money, but if you can afford to keep him as a cash cow, I like it. He needs to start getting some returns though. I agree. I agree with that, Davis. And that's the thing. That's a nice thing about Saka. It kind of goes underrated how you can pivot to anyone in the game bar Salah. If we just go by price, you can go to Salah, you can go to almost a Palmer. Sorry, price. 0.4 in a difference. And then you can also go to a Brian and Buemo if it comes to it. Semenyo. So I do like being able to pivot off of Saka. And I know a lot of people are saying, about price, but the price between Saka and Rice is almost the same price between Ndiaye and Mbeumo. And I don't think it's a fair comparison, really. It's just a different kettle of fish. I know I keep saying it. Anyway, I feel like I'm quite locked in my team. I'm happy with that. I'm on Wildcard 2, up the Irish, says Rolo. Up the Irish, absolutely. What do you think about Barry at Everton, says Liam. I actually like Barry as an option. He's starting to get good minutes. He's a young player. I feel like he's also starting to build up some confidence. Same with Sally, is asking the same. Do you think Reynilda will start? Again, that's another question that I can't be sure of, but I would say he's more likely to start than not. Do you enjoy to Ahmed and Saka to Palmer and Timber to Shaw? I don't like that at all, Far. Bench one of Manoz, Mukiele, Rogers. I actually think I'll be benching Mukiele. I know it sounds crazy, but benching Manoz is just so tough. Hello, Yusuf. Good to see you, my man. Start Nico O'Reilly or Richards. Also, Szoboszlai or Thiago. I think Slob because right back and no pens. Look at that. Oh, would you look at that? First off, thank you, Maliki, for becoming a Cup of Chai member for another month. He says, like and subscribe for the great channel. Thank you, Maliki. And then we also have Anto with the one gifted membership. And look at Faris's reaction. He says, thank you. There you go, Anto. So there's your good deed done for today. First off, thank you, Maliki, for supporting the channel. As you guys know, really appreciate the support. Secondly, thank you, Anto. And it's great to see Faris really appreciate that in chat. Anto's done it for, what's that, the 4th or 5th stream running after gifting a membership. So thank you to you, Anto. Really appreciate it. You know what we're going to do? we are going to send out some gifted memberships. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a quick swig of my water. What I want you guys to do, I need to go to the bathroom and I'm going to be 1 minute. And I'm going to include the washing of hands in that. So first off, if you're looking to support the channel more, do become a channel member. Again, nothing gatekept here. It's just a nice way to support the channel. And what I want you guys to do while I go to the bathroom is spam W's in chat. I'm going to give 5 gifted memberships. So I'm going to take a swig of my water. Spam W in chat and I will give out the memberships when I'm back from the bathroom. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, where are we? While we're there, do hit the like button and subscribe. Let's give away these 5 memberships then. And congrats in advance to anyone who's won them. By the way, do hit the like button. And I'm not going to try to convince you that it's going to give you a better chance of winning, but maybe it'll give you a bit of luck. So, here we go, lads. So let's roll it. Who we got? There you go, chat. Congratulations. We got Ammo, who won the first one. We have Sean, who's always in here. Congrats, Sean. Adam. We got FPL Mackham as well, a regular. And we also got Christian and Faris. Congratulations, guys, on the memberships. Welcome to a cup of chai. And who knows, we might give away 5 more at the end of the stream. But, as you know, with the membership badges, I'm more likely to read your questions. I do try to get back to everyone. That was a quick wash of hands. I don't know if you can still see my hands, lads, but they are definitely washed. I promise you. But congratulations to everyone in chat. And again, we might roll out 5 more. So stick around to the end of the stream. I have 5 more to give out for this month. So stay tuned. And congratulations to the guys who have won it. No chance he washed his hands. I promise you guys, I've washed my hands. Where are we? It wasn't a 45-second hand wash. It was just you know what I mean? 5 to 10 second job, which does the job. Again, I'm working, so it needs to be done. Anyway, let's get back to the FPL. Congrats to everyone who's won it. Hello, Johnny in chat. He says, evening, Chai. Thoughts on Szoboszlai to Matoma in draft mode? I don't think I would do it. I wouldn't do it, actually, Johnny. I don't think so. The best thing about becoming a member is now that you can watch Davis bottle the Chai Members League. And by the way, Maliki says, did you sing Happy Birthday? First off, I was going to say the channel is actually 2 years or 3 years old. 2 years or 3 years old last week, I believe. And secondly, can anyone guess when my birthday is? The only reason I'm saying that is because it's relevant. It's not this month, but it is relevant. Have a guess of when my birthday is. I don't know if I've ever told you guys. But let's see if anyone can get in and around my birthday. And I'll continue with the FPL. Anyway, where were we? We were answering your questions. Wilson or transfer out for Enjoy? I've got value in Wilson. I think if I have Wilson, Luke, to be honest, I would hold on to him. Why aren't you playing Krupi Jr.? For who? Who will I play Krupi Jr. for? I don't see anyone I could play Krupi for. February 14th, Valentine's Day. Nab says 24th September. Faris says 21st of Feb. Love your work, brother, says Maverick from Australia. I have a similar woodwork. I have a similar woodcraft. I have Royce for Saka and Bumo for Enzo. Oh, Maverick's question's gone. I assume you meant wildcard, but it's okay. Derek says February 14th. 14th of something to match where Spurs are in the league. Henry, you cheeky bastard. You cheeky bastard. Why are people not getting Hill? I don't think it's a case of getting Hill over Senesi. I think Senesi is just a better option and worth paying the more money for. If this double bottle happens, I'm retiring from football. Davis, you cannot leave that happen. And by the way, Davis, let me know if the audio is okay. I actually changed microphones for you, and I hope the audio in general is okay. I'm actually in a pretty empty room. Again, I did change scenery, so the audio is only going to get better when the room is a bit more furnished. So I do apologize for that. Anyway, let me leave in chat when my birthday is. Birthday is actually February 16th. So you guys are actually pretty close, in fairness. But yeah, sooner rather than later. And let me make sure there's not a deadline on my birthday, or else there's going to be big trouble. Last season, I actually streamed on my birthday from a hotel. The missus took me away. This game week, there's no matches on February 16th. So, it looks like I'm free. What about Ahmed instead of Bumo when you don't have money to take Bumo instead of Enzo? Yeah, but I'd much prefer Enzo over Ahmed. That's for sure. No Weak Foot says, I'm on bench boost. Would you do Watkins out for a -4 or don't use the bench boost? Ooh. No Weak Foot. I don't know if that's actually your bench though. If that's actually your bench and your team is full of players who are starting over those Sunderland guys, I would absolutely take a hit for that bench. Yes, mate. Audio is way better. Sorry about that last week, Davis. I know it was very frustrating. So I do appreciate it. Sean says, just seen I got gifted a membership. Thanks a million. Currently at Funky Monkeys with a kid's carnage. Best look, man. What is Funky Monkeys? I'm curious. Funky Monkeys. It looks to be... it's like... I see. How would I... a kid's little playground thing. Very nice, and I hope you're having fun. Great to see you having me in the background, though. 5 days off, says Faris. 5 days off before I'm back streaming for my birthday. Only 2 days off. Yeah, you're close enough. Start Senesi or Thiago? I would start Senesi. I mean, the floor is just higher. Again, reluctantly, though. Would you captain Royce over Bruno? No. I don't even know why I thought about that. Start Mane or Ayari? I would start Ayari, I want to say. Okay, little scroll on the timeline. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post my team on Twitter. And then let's do some quick fire questions now. Get your questions in, lads. Anderson or Wilson for Wildcard 24? Anderson. Are you locked on Saka captaincy or are you going to be swayed by Bruno? I'm locked on Saka captaincy. I don't think too much unless we get some sort of leak before the deadline, which is not going to happen in my mind. I don't see that going to happen. But I'm fairly set on Saka. Raul and Dorgu to Mane and Shalaba for a -4. I don't... Unless you had to play Dorgu, I don't think so. I meant wildcard and went to edit but realised I can't and delete it. That's fair enough. Don't worry, Maverick. What I was saying was I have the same wildcard team, only differences are Royce for Saka and Bumo for Ndiaye. Very good, Maverick. I really love that. Okay, FPL, Chai. Here's my question, says Anto. Shall I go crazy and captain Palmer? You can do us a favour and jinx everyone else, Anto. I don't mind it, Anto, I'll be honest. I just don't know if Palmer is a better option, even if he does get the minutes than Saka, Bruno or Haaland. But I think if you have him, doubling down is not the worst idea. No Weak Foot says, in this case, would you do Ekitike or Evan Nilsson for Watkins? I would be genuinely really tempted with Ekitike. I know a lot of people will be looking to sell now, but Ekitike would be very tempting for me. FPL Raptor or FPL Harry, says Chris. For me, I prefer... it's not a case of prefer. It depends what you're on about. Content or as a person, who would I be closer to is how I would answer it. I would be closer to Ross again. Done a bit of work with Ross as well. Mitoma, Munoz or Cash, start one. Davis, you're not hitting me with this question again, man. I think... Alright, let's do a poll for Davis, because it's one of the hardest dilemmas this week I've seen. Davis is saying start one. Mitoma, Everton at home. Cash, Brentford at home. And Munoz, Forest away. Who would you start? It's a tough one. Vote on that poll for Davis. Again, channel member privileges given to Davis. Keep Bruno G or get Ndiaye. I would probably sell Bruno G, Faris. Yocha, good evening from the Blue Mountains of Australia. He says sell Virgil van Dijk or Richards for Chalobah. Not Virgil van Dijk. It is Virgil van Dijk. Or Richards for Chalobah. I'd probably sell Richards for Chalobah. No, I would do Bruno G for Enzo, without a doubt. I would do Bruno G to Enzo. A Yari or Krupi? To start this game week, it would be Krupi. Tiny Fungus, good to see you. Need help with the captaincy between Brian Mbeumo, Enzo, and João Pedro. Tiny Fungus, have you not got Bruno Fernandes? That's another really, really close one. Again, I think this poll for Davis is going to be 30-33 or 33-33-33 split. To answer your question though, Tiny Fungus, I think Mbeumo is the right answer given minutes. Again, it doesn't appeal to me as much than like a Saka or a Bruno, but out with those three, probably Mbeumo. Good to see you too, Chai. Best of luck with the wildcard. Nico O'Reilly over Richards since Palace look shaky. Yes, but I see Spurs scoring, I'll be honest. Ain't Lewis Miley looking good at 4.5? He is, but I just feel like I'd prefer to go to an Anderson probably. Appreciate your work, says TK. Thank you, TK. UTD says, start the season with you still, and I copied your wildcard when you got 85 or maybe free hit left, and you did Salah, and I'm now still top 50k in the world. It feels nice. Yeah, it's nice to be you. I'm currently 571k, which is not the greatest, but again, lads, I still feel like there's plenty of time. Who to start, Munoz or Timber? I think you got to start Timber in that case. Davis, good to see this poll is not helping you at all. Mitoma actually leading the poll now. Palmer or Enzo? In general, Enzo. Bench Tarkovsky, Wilson or Bourne? Wilson. I have Mbeumo over Bruno due to him playing striker recent few game weeks. More likely to score, IMO, but best of luck this game week. Thank you, Tiny Fungus. I can understand where you're coming from, but just the roots of points for Bruno always edges it for me, but I can understand that. Start two of Pedro, Wilson, Senesi or Virgil. I would start Senesi and Pedro. I think if you have Pedro, you just play him. Let's talk FPL is going with Bruno captain. Don't you think you should too? To be honest, absolutely love Andy, but he actually is an advocate for Saka, so that's a good sign at least. Who are you picking out of Verts and Buemo or Semenyo? What's the question though, Anton? In general, I'd probably go in Buemo. Again, plays game week 31. I think it's tough. That is tough. Start two of Chalobah, Munoz or Mukiele. Probably Chalobah and Mukiele. It's tough again. Saka in for Gordon? Absolutely, if you can get there. Since you're Irish, can I get a free Palestine from you? There you go, free Palestine. Again, we will not be getting into the politics here. Cheers for the poll. Absolutely no help. Matoma, my least favourite to start. And now Danny Minoz is winning it. I think I have PTSD from going to see Brighton game the other week. Yeah, that's fair. Matoma is a baller if it's worth anything. Next best Arsenal midfielder / forward if I can't go Saka. If I can't afford Saka. Love from Belfast, Chai. I would go Declan Rice. Chai, I'm on wildcard as well, says Mr. Feather. Keep Wilson or sell Wilson for Saka and Pedro down to Krupi. I have to say, I would prefer to go sell Wilson for Saka and Pedro down to Krupi. But again, I have my own biases because I have Saka in my own team. Tarkovsky or Anderson to Shalaba. Again, it really depends what you're looking for, Harry. I'm going to say Tarkovsky. Yeah, Davis, I told you this poll is going to be 33. Okay, I'm going to post my team on the timeline. Because I know I'll forget otherwise. Let me quickly screenshot it. Bam. And let's post it. So, wildcard. I'm going to put a locked emoji, even though it's not locked because we could get some team news, but still. Let's go. OR is 5-7. Bear with me for a second, guys. I'll get back to your question. Knows it is, says Davis. 5-7-1-8-2-7. I'm going to go with Saka with the armband. And light bulb emoji. I don't know, man. And then we'll do early wildcard to reignite. Covering both paths given the odd chance Chelsea progress in the cup. Solid and pen takers. Saka as a way to differentiate and a option for the double. Higher than most. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to think. Let's see some of your teams below. Alright lads, chuck in some of your teams below. Let's rate some of them. Particularly, I want to see if you're on wildcard. I'm very excited. And I want to see what you guys are thinking, because I know my team won't necessarily be the most popular if people were wildcarding. And I completely understand that. I actually think Rice, you can go for a Rice over Saka. It's absolutely fine by me, but it's not the route I'm going to go. And I really like this team, lads. I think it covers a lot. Any tips on how to prepare from a data structures exam? No, you're absolutely fuked. I'm not going to lie. Data structures and algorithms is the hardest exam I've ever sat in my life. Thank God mine was MCQ at least. or a chili for the emoji for Saka. Sorry, Davis, missed that. Anyway, lads, chuck in some teams. We'll bring them up on stream, and then we'll get back to some quick fire questions, and then we'll get back to looking at my team. Hey, Choi, bro. Krupi Jr. or Mane to start if you had both? I would start Krupi. Captain Bruno or Haaland, bro? If I was down to that only, I would be inclined to do Bruno. Jonathan has sent in his team. Very similar team. He's gone with Hill instead of Senesi, which was one of the routes that we said. And overall, the team is the exact same. Is that not the exact same team, or am I tweaking? Jonathan, are you in here? Expose yourself, man. Alright, let's go from the bottom, shall we? Jonathan, may bottle the Panama captain go Bruno. Please curse all the Bruno owners. Anthony. Very nice team though, Anthony, I have to say. 20k overall for Seal. Ridiculous. Simon, maybe Neto to Mbuemo with the exact funds. I don't think I'll be doing Neto to Mbuemo, Simon, personally. I think there's a good chance that Neto starts this game. And again, with the fixtures, double Chelsea attack, very, very differential. Could really, benefit you. I'm here, not going with it though, says Dripples. I knew you were here, Jonathan. Who we got here? What do you think, says K. Let's pull it up real quick. Malik Chow, not ideal versus Liverpool. And quite a rough bench, I have to say. Okay, but your overall team is quite strong. João Pedro's the differential. Vert's in there as well. Semenyo. And Mbuemo captain. That is bold. Even bolder than bold. Best of luck with that, K. Anton in here, of course. Hope it pays off. He's done the 4 transfers he suggested in chat. Rodgers, Bruno, João Pedro, and Evanilson in. Good moves across the board, I have to say, considering you have your mins risk of Sharky, Palmer, and Watkins. I like that, Anton. Very strong team. Yeah, nice team, Anton. Ricky in here, 44k wildcard active. He's gone with Anderson, Hill, Root, and double United attack. He's also gone with Saka on a wildcard. Very strong team. Spacine said, just came back from cycling. Any news? Nothing new, Spacine, as of yet. On bench boost 26. Who's he got on the bench? I love that. Very similar to myself. I'm still tempted, I can't lie, of doing Jose Saw in. I still can. I have the money. I could leave the door open. The thing for me though is, maybe I should think about this a bit more. Very similar team to me, by the way. He's actually gone to Danny Minogue's route as well, because he's no Saka. Love that rhythm. This is for wildcard. Thinking of Shalaba to Dallo and Barry to Evanilson. At that point, I think I would just go Shalaba to Maguire and Dallo, and Barry to Evanilson / even a Bowen if it opens the door to it. Costas if you're in here. Jimenez, love that punt. Dewsbury Hall, Justin. I assume this is not a wildcard if you got... Oh, the wildcard is active and you've got James Justin. Interesting. Very strong team iron. Another Justin in here. Yeah, I love that. Minoz instead of Anderson. Yeah, I probably would do similar. Okay, I've answered a few. Again, we can get back to that in just a second. Apologies for anyone who sent it in and I've missed. What I wanted to do was, I need to pull up FPL team. Alright. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to see how my team looks lined up for Gameweek 26. Is this my team? This is not my team. Let me load that again. I think it just takes a second to load. So what do you think about Sharky Tunes? I like it. I do like it overall. Would I do it this week? I'd be very unsure, I'll be honest. Because if Sharky plays, again, Tottenham, great fixture. I'm going to say do it because going for Enjoy can never be bad, realistically. Plan, my team. Can you bring up my team, please? I don't know why it's not popping up because that is not my team. Let me pull out this for a second, guys. Sorry, 2 seconds. I just need to see what my team looks for Game Week 26. And is it worth potentially hitting the bench boost in 26? Something that I have looked at, by the way. Plan, my team, load. This is not pulling my team correct, guys. Let me click log out. Sorry. Log in. Question from Bar. Regardless of my rank, it wouldn't affect on who I wanted to captain. I'll be honest. Like it wouldn't affect it at all, actually. Okay, lads. It looks like my FPL team is kind of having a hiccup, so I'm just going to try have to make it on stream. I think. Give me 2 seconds. Ah, there you go. Have it now. Wait, how did that populate my current team? Okay, here is FPL team, and here is my current team. That's crazy. It actually just gave my most recent team, even though the deadline is not passed. So this is how it looks this game week, lads. It's looking a bit like that. Again, very solid. Happy with it. And I have 0.2 million in the bank. Now, I'm going to pencil in the saw route just to see how it looks on bench boost. So, Gameweek25, inevitably roll. Team looks phenomenal in my eyes. No complaints there. My gut tells me you should start Mane, maybe. Gameweek26, this is how it looks. So, realistically, that's how it's going to look in Gameweek26. Now, I quite like it. Is that bench boostable? I would argue no. Jose So, let's say he gets 4 points. Anderson maybe 3 points, 7 overall. Krupi maybe 9, and Senesi maybe 4. I don't think it's bench boostable. When I consider how Game Week 33 could look. Would it be good to keep the door open though? Maybe. But I don't think I'll do it. I think I'd rather hold off, to be honest. I could regret it in the future, but I think that 0.2 could come a long way with Dubravka in the double game week, not having to use a transfer. So I'm actually not going to put in Jose. So anyway, that was just something I need to look at, lads. Yeah, the problem with Mane and Krupi is there's no one I can play them over in this current team. No one. Do you think João Pedro starts? I think there's definitely a chance. I actually think it is 50-50 whether or not he starts or not. But why do you think captain Saka over Bruno? I think Saka is just a very good option. He's severely underrated this game week. Everyone is actually going Bruno this game week, and it'd be a good way to differentiate myself. I think Saka's a really good option. Best luck this game week, says David. Thank you. Half an hour until the deadline, lads, by the way. Get your questions in. Let's see if we can somehow get to 9,600 subscribers by the end of the stream. If you aren't subscribed, lads, again, make your way up there. And maybe if we just hit 9,600, I'll give away 5 more memberships. I don't know. Am I feeling that bold? Can you continue with the team review? Sure. Sure, why not? Let's run through a few more. The real human beanie, Tarko Hall loading. Yeah, that's a strong team. And to be honest, no, I would play as is, unfortunately. I would play exactly as is. Very good team, though. Let's go 3-5-2. Krupi starting, Hill on the bench. Interesting that you're starting Hill instead of Krupi instead of Hill. You've actually gone with this Buendia instead of Rodgers. Very nice. My rank is 8k. I want to captain Saka over Bruno. Love that. Nicely set up, Troy. Good luck. Thank you, Tobby, if you're in here. Matt says, what are your thoughts? Yeah, Matt, that's a very... Sorry, I'm after closing that. Very solid team. Again, I think, Pedro is a slight risk for me, but still very like the triple up on the Chelsea guys, Matt. Here's mine, says FPL Belgium. So need a few more luxury players to avoid burning. But here is the plan. Alderete. Yeah, a lot of people are strong on the Thiago Alderete. I love having Thiago in an advance. Don't mind it at all. FPL Ask says solid. I'm using a nice extension here, by the way. Yeah, that is a very solid team. Looks like you have a bit of more team value than me. What moves would you make? This team looks like it needs a bit of surgery, guys. 1.3 million in the bank and 0 free transfers remaining. Thank you for subscribing, Mega Mac. What moves would I make? I actually don't think I would make a move this game week. I would play Dan Ballard, Gabriel, and Hall, and I would roll on to the next game week, unfortunately. Just nothing worth taking a hit there. The amount of you guys who are using extensions, by the way, you nerds. Very nice team again. I actually really like this one. Even though Dorgo and Frimpong are an issue, still nicely set up in my opinion. 2 free transfers, what would you do? Again, this would be another team that I would just roll on to next game week. Alternatively, I would sell Frimpong to maybe a Trevor Chalobah. Other than that, I would roll. You love Saka. That's the thing, I don't necessarily love Saka. I just think he's severely underrated going into the game week. What should I change? On Wildcard here. 0.7 million in the bank and gone to João Pedro. To be honest, I can't tell you to change much, K, if you're in here, because I would just be telling you to go with my team. So very nice team. Thank you, Pickle, if you're in here. I have Saka, but I don't like it. He doesn't look the same player to me this season. Fair opinion. I can't knock that, to be honest. Get double Chelsea and double Arsenal Wildcard. Triple up using a free transfer. Whoever doubles. Nice one. Plan in place. That's what I like to hear. That's the first time I've seen someone on Wildcard not triple up on the Arsenal though. So that's an interesting strategy show. Alright, let's get back to your questions in chat. I should probably captain Haaland, so I should jinx it for our team. Come on, you Spurs, says Anto. Yeah, exactly, Anto. Evan Nilsson over Krupi. Absolutely, if you can afford it. Bench one of Calvert-Lewin or Malik Chow. I would bench Malik Chow. What are extensions? So, extensions, FPL Jinx or Anto, basically, they are exactly what it sounds like. So, for every website, some people create what's called an extension. An extension, all it is a tool on top of an existing website that can help you, essentially. And the way it helps you is, it might show you things like fixtures later down the line. So in FPL terms, it would show you, bottom 5 fixtures down the bottom. It might show you a different user interface. And then, it's not only FPL where there's extensions. There's other things like, general Chrome extensions. You can get things like an extension. So when you click the spacebar, it spams the spacebar. It's called a macro. Just little things like that. So a tool, basically, Anto. Who should I bench for Garner and Jimenez? What are the options? Virgil van Dijk or Wilson on the bench? I would bench Wilson, yeah. Alright, let's do another scroll on the timeline, ladies and gents. See if we're going to get any more information. Play Thiago over Lafille, yes. Captaining an out-of-form Haaland this week against Spurs away is a major skill issue. Thomas Frank's low block has always been very difficult for City to break down. Exactly. Bruno Fernandes, Anderson, Bruno Fernandes, Ndiaye. Ndiaye all day, my friend. I'm actually quite sad to bench Krupi. It is a good opportunity to play him, but I just don't think there's anyone better I can play him for. Afternoon show. Would you rather go Verbergen plus Minoz or Sanchez plus Senesi? Well, I'm going Sanchez plus Senesi, so I have to lead you down the same route. Okay, nothing interesting on the timeline, lads. Thanks, you actually answered Thiago. It is versus Lafille, yes. I'm on Mukiele Capitano. Crazy work. Low blocks, hashtag slot. Start Mukiele or Senesi? Senesi. I actually think that's a flip of a coin, lads. I can go either way. I would actually go Senesi. Not because of clean sheet probability, as I just think Burnley can score. Krupi, Rogers, or Wilson, Evan Nilsson? Krupi, Rogers. Start two of Thiago, Anderson, Wilson. Thiago and Wilson, because Anderson... Yeah, I'll go Thiago and Wilson. Good morning, should I start Soboslai or Wilson? Thanks. I think I would play Wilson. Again, it's tough. I think that's really close. I don't love starting Wilson this game week, I'll be honest. Go Palmer, not going Saka. Fair. I don't know if Enzo starts all these games. That's fair enough, Determinator. But the thing is, even if he starts 4 or 5, he's a great option. Is keeping Foden and O'Reilly okay this week if you can't get to Bruno? Okay, I don't know is the question. My preference would be to get Bruno. Start one of Van Heck, O'Reilly and Anderson. I would start Van Heck. I have lost so many ranks by accidentally replacing Mukiele with Alderete. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's been a very, very big swing, I'll be honest. Shouldn't have necessarily been the case. By the way, let me close this poll. Mano's actually won it out, 41%. Thank you everyone who's voted. We are 22 subscribers off, by the way, of 5 more channel members. I don't think we're going to get there, but a good goal to set. By the way, let's try to get the like goal to 200. Start Shalaba or Senesi, or bench Timber for Senesi. Start Shalaba or Senesi, or bench Timber for Senesi. Start Shalaba or Senesi, or bench Timber for Senesi. That is really tough. Walter, I don't know how you're in that situation. I would bench Shalaba or Senesi, and I would be benching Shalaba, probably. Okay, let's do a little discussion in chat. I've rewatched Breaking Bad, and I forgot how good it was. Let me know in chat, what is your all-time GOAT series? Breaking Bad is just too good, lads. And let me know if there's any outsider shouts that you have. I'm curious, because I'm not one of the biggest series guys out there. So let me know what you think. Aaron says, why Iliman in DI? 90 minutes, the main man at Everton, on penalties, good for DEFCON, surprisingly. Like, if we bring up Ndiaye's DEFCON numbers before he went to AFCON, 12, 10, 9, 8, 5, 5, 10, 17, 8, 6, 12, 14, 8, 9, 9. Great for DEFCON. So that means if he returns, good for bonus. Thank you, Shaw, for subscribing. Only 19 off the subscriber count now before we give away more channel memberships. So Yo Henry says Lost. CJ says Game of Thrones. Absolutely love Game of Thrones, I have to say. Sabrino says Prison Break. Koala says Breaking Bad. Derek says Sopranos. A lot of Sopranos in there. Breaking Bad is just the best, I agree. Johnny Staccato is goated TV. Vikings, Succession, Homeland, The Simpsons, Game of Thrones, Better Call Saul. It's interesting if you think Better Call Saul is better than Breaking Bad. That is really interesting, because I've heard a lot of mixed impressions on it. Sopranos, Ozark, Prison Break. Season 1 of Prison Break is phenomenal. Game of Thrones until the last season. 24 Care Sutherland. Never heard of that. Dark, The Wire. I heard The Wire is really popular as well. Yeah, a lot of the popular ones in there, guys. And a few differential ones. Twin Peaks. It's not for everyone, but I love it. Money Heist. I don't really know which my favourite is. Some series that I like: Shooter, Chicago PD, Blind Spot, and SWAT. Ozark. I've never watched Ozark or Snowfall. CJ sounds like you have good taste. I've watched like 4 or 5 seasons of Peaky Blinders. Lucifer. Some great shouts in there, and I'll add them to the list. One on my bucket list is definitely The Wire. I think it's meant to be really good. But yeah, it's good. It's good to hear. 19 more subscribers, lads, until we hit 9,600. Fargo's decent. Yeah, so here's my piece on Game of Thrones. I've rewatched Game of Thrones 3 times. But then I watched Breaking Bad, and overall as a series, I forgot how good it is. I just forgot how good it is. Like, it is so good, lads. Chernobyl, The Wire is good. Okay, thank you everyone who with your inputs in chat. Let's get back to the FPL with 18 minutes left to go on the deadline stream. Let's quickly refresh the timeline once again. I want to make sure we do not miss any content on the timeline. What I'm going to do first is quickly update the script so the timer is a bit more up to date and accurate, so you guys don't think the stream is ending early. I'm going to change to 17 minutes, and then that'll be perfect to end as we see fit. So one more scroll on the timeline, and then we'll get back to some quick fire questions, guys. I don't think we're going to get any sufficient information before the deadline, but it's good to keep an eye just in case. Chai, I'm nervous. I'm on Wildcard and I'm lost. There's nothing to be lost on. There's a lot of solid picks in there. You can't go too wrong, I don't think. You know, what could go really wrong is Saka not starting this next game and me being on him captain, but the upside is there for me. Yellowstone, says Davis. Interesting. How many Haaland goals today? 0, hopefully. Low block Tottenham. What time are Tottenham on? I believe it's... Oh, it's on Sunday at 4:30. I forgot, yeah. Sunday at 4:30, so 0. Who was the best goalkeeper on Wildcard apart from Sanchez and Maria? I see Verbergen is up there for sure. Verbergen is definitely up there. Why are you captaining Saka? Great fixture in my opinion. I think he gets good minutes. A way to differentiate myself where a lot of people will be going Bruno when I still think there's a lot to learn about Carrick's United. And I prefer him as an option to Haaland, low block Thomas Frank. Choi, can you do me a solid as a channel member? Quick poll between Haaland, Palmer, Bruno for captain. So, Anto, we actually done a poll earlier in the stream. It was who you were going for captaincy. But I can do one for you. Again, we can just, in case people have changed their mind. Again, captain poll again. Do vote on it. This time Palmer is in the mix. And no Saka. So Haaland, Palmer. Let's assume you had them all, guys. Who would you captain? Haaland, Palmer, Bruno. If you had Palmer, would you be tempted? Any leaks? No leaks. Do you reckon sales could be decent? No. Would you get Senesi or Anderson? Senesi. Do you think we beat City tomorrow? I think so. I think there's a chance we definitely beat him. Am I confident? Absolutely not confident at all. Your captain and Mukiele, love that. Why is everyone suddenly getting Maguire? 4.2, can't go wrong really. A lot of people are still siding towards Bruno, even if they did have Palmer. You're okay, Anto. New poll has gone up for you, my man. Kais, come on you Gunners. Wait, what? That doesn't make sense. Rogers captain, don't love it. Most transfer player rule says don't captain Bruno. Lads, I still feel like it is early days with Bruno though. Well, not Bruno. With United. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see United lose this game. In my opinion. 13 minutes until the deadline is up, guys. Tosin Evanilson, great option, even with Rayan coming in. I still have a quick reminder to everyone on Wildcard that you'll need to smash it immediately. As the weeks progress, others will be Wildcard and your team will look more and more tired. Wishing you all the best. Keep loving. I was going to say thoughts on Saka captain, because he is a Leeds fan, but we won't go there. I'll wind them up. Why not? Sorry, guys. Missing your chat. I'm curious to see what Andy says. Come on, you Spurs. Bench one says Hads. He says Watkins, Haaland, Evan Nilsson, Bruno, Enzo, Lafie, Royce, and Kuna. I would bench Lafie. Please stop spamming, or else you're out of here. Someone please ban Hads. Okay, I'll put him on a little timer. Sorry, Hads, but you can't be doing that. There's a little 5-minute timer for your Hads. Apologies. Sorry, chat. Who should I pick between Garner and Jimenez to bench this week? I'll be benching Garner. Jimenez with the pens. Rhea, Minoz, or Kelleher, Timber on wildcard. Rhea, Minoz. Again, I've only gone Timber because I have so much team value on him. "12 minutes until the deadline, ladies and gentlemen." Let's see if FPL Newsletter is going to post us at nice. I'll keep them open because they're the only ones really likely to get us any information. Do stay tuned. Again, 12 minutes until the deadline. Can't actually see the poll, but I think I'm going to go Palmer. The poll is 50% on Bruno. No worries, David. Is Minoz on wildcard viable? Absolutely is. More than shy. Going bold this week with Brian Brobby captain on Monday Night Football. That's what FPL is about, man. Love that. Senesi or Anderson and why? Senesi, best DEFCONer in the game. Full stop. Hey, I hope you're doing well. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Do you think Haaland starts tomorrow after 90 minutes with week? Yes, I absolutely think he does. Tiny Fungus says, any plans after stream? No plans as of right now, Tiny Fungus. What are you saying? Start Timber or Reynildo? I need to get something to eat. Start Timber or Reynildo? I would start Timber. Only because there's slight, minutes risk with Reynildo, but I still think he'll start. Start Krupi or Tarkovsky? In that case, I probably would start Krupi. Who's the best Mateta replacement? Evan Nilsson? Bowen? Or just go down to Krupi and stack up on the midfield, guys? Let's see if Andy has had the time to reply. People know I'm winding Andy up. He's gonna hate that, man. Yeah, Tony Fungus, that's a shout, Shout and a half. I have the keys to David's. Love that. Alright, let's do that. I'm captain João Pedro and praying. Chelsea had a 4:30 kickoff, if I'm not wrong, yeah? Tiny Fungus, also, I've got some class sourdough bread from Seagull if you want me to make you something if you're hungry. Okay, quick fire questions. 10 minutes remaining on the stream. Let's run through it then. What do we got? Start Hill or Alderete? Alderete every single day of the week. Better clean sheet probability, better chance of DEFCONs. Thoughts on Tammy Abraham? I think he starts this game week, I'll be honest. Would I go with him? I would be less sure. But great option if we expect Watkins to be out for some time. What time are you saying, Tony Fungus? Yocha, should I captain Bruno or Mbuemo? Should I captain Bruno or Mbuemo? Bruno all day. The thing with Bruno and Mbuemo is just DEFCON. If Bruno can get DEFCON and they both blank, I mean, that's already 4 more points than you would get for Brian and Mbuemo. Okay, I'm just trying to see if we get anything with the remainder of the stream. I will come back to that in 5 minutes. Let me get my team back up and answer your questions. Before I do that, to the 214 of you guys in here, do hit the like button and subscribe. Much love, lads. Start Virgil van Dijk or VVD, Virgil van Dijk, or Anderson. Son, that means English one. Virgil van Dijk, I would start him. Start Mane or Alderete? I would start Alderete. I'm a sharer, but can come over whenever after. Cool. Start 2 of Thiago, DBH, Dewsbury Hall, or Anderson. Start Thiago for sure and Anderson. Again, I would just get the floor of points for myself. Start Hincapié or Mukiele. I would be tempted to start Hincapié. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Calafiori started in the week. Again, don't quote me on that. I should know that off the top of my head. But versus Kaya, I'm fairly sure Calafiori started. No, I was wrong. He did start centre half. So I actually would be tempted to start Nkapie in that case. How about Oina as a pick? One from the past, not bad. I actually consider it, but I don't know if I'd be bringing him in over the other options. If money is no issue, would you buy Palmer and Bumo and Rodgers? Well, if money is no issue, I'd definitely go in Palmer. But the thing is, you have to factor in money. Krupi or Mane if I already have Evan Nilsson. I would still go Krupi. Play Senesi and bench Tarkowski or other way around? I would play Senesi. I'm on wildcard stuck between Evan Nilsson and Wilson versus Mbeumo and Krupi Jr. Mbeumo and Krupi Jr. sounds a bit better to me. You don't want to downgrade Saka to Rice and can't fit Chalobah and NDI. Please help. I cannot really help you there because you have to compromise somewhere. Like, there's no problem with going Rice. Bowen or Dallo? Bowen all day. Thoughts on Salah? I consider it, and it's not bad on Wildcard 24 strategy because he plays in 31 and doubles in 33. It actually saves you a transfer, but it means going without Haaland, and that's not for me. Start Cash or Van Heck? I would start Cash, but reluctantly. It'd be very hard. It's very much a flip of a coin, Adam. What are your thoughts on starting Krupi over Anderson? I don't mind it. Again, I still feel like Krupi's a decent start. Please, Chai, Ndiaye or Senesi this game week. Hard to bench the penalty taker, I'll be honest. I would play Ndiaye. And the thing is, because Ndiaye is only come back from AFCON, he's not being talked about. A lot will be talking about Ndiaye after this game week if he does well. And bench boost him regardless. F off if you think Mukiele, Sanchez, Guehi and Krupi Jr. can exceed 15 points. Absolutely I can. Definitely they can. Good bench boost. Don't have Bruno to captain. Haaland or Palmer? I think if I had Palmer, lads, I would just do it. Reluctantly though. Hard. W Stream says Vimmel. Thank you, much love. Alderete or Mukiele on wildcard? On wildcard I would go Alderete. I know Mukiele's outscored him, but they're different price bands now. Cash versus Thiago and Virgil versus Gordon. Which three would you start? I would start Cash, Thiago and Virgil. Keane or Chow? Who to bench? Chow. Rodgers or Wirtz to Bruno? Wirtz for sure. Start one of Krupi, Bourne and Guehi. Absolutely start Bourne. Penalties 90 minutes. Start Munoz or Mukiele? I would have to start Mukiele. I think Mukiele might be the only player this game week that I would start ahead of Munoz. But again, very reluctantly. Like, benching Munoz is asking for trouble, lads. Krupi or Wilson? Krupi. Bench Krupi or Bourne? I would bench Krupi, so I would start Bourne in that case. Okay, 5 minutes until the deadline is up, lads. I hope I've answered as many of your questions as possible. I'll try cover any last few ones as they get thrown in. I want to quickly scroll through the timeline and make sure we're not missing any news. Would you sell Bruno G for Ndiaye? Absolutely I would. I think Bruno G's boat has passed now. I could be wrong on that, but that's just my opinion. By the way, this is my first ever 2.5 hour stream. I hope you enjoyed it. Fair play to anyone who's been in here since the start. Again, it's been a long stream for you guys. I don't know how you can sit here and listen to me for that long. But yeah, we're going to check the leaks now. Particularly, let's pull up the FPL newsletter. And see if we've got anything from Lazy FPL. And if we've not got anything from him, I think it is safe to say that we're not going to get any info between now and the end of the stream. What I'll actually do is I'll open a new browser as well, just so we can particularly refresh that one page. Start Thiago or Pedro? I mean, if you have Pedro, you have to start him. Please don't spam Blaze. Hole, Burn, Chow or Botman on wildcard. Hole till double game week 33. Hall is the answer for me, my man. But please don't spam. Shall I risk Foden or sell now? I would probably sell now. I mean, you don't want that headache. Thank you, George, for doing God's work. Kuna over Wilson. To start this game week, yes, for sure. For sure. Alright, 2 minutes and 40 seconds, lads, until the deadline is here. No leaks as of yet. Before the last minute, I'll refresh Lazy FPL to make sure we've not missed anything. And then lastly, I'll answer some of your questions and then we'll round up. Thiago to Evan Nilsson or just keep? I mean, in that situation, I think I would just keep. Start Gahey or Alderete? Please help, Alderete. Start Evan Nilsson with Krupi, Wilson or Cash? I would start Evan Nilsson. Captain Royce or Bruno? Bruno all day. Garner or Harry Wilson to play? Harry Wilson. Semenyo or Rodgers on Wildcard? Rodgers all day. Potential pen share, lads. Slightly going underneath the radar. On Wildcard, Martinez or Sanchez in goal? I think Martinez is definitely a consideration. I prefer Sanchez. I mean, because he plays 31, prefer Sanchez and a 10% chance of the double. You have to account of making your look. Verts to Rodgers the roll. I would roll that for sure. Krupi or Ayari to start this game week? Krupi. Thiago or Wilson? Thiago. I think we've just about covered everything, lads. Again, if I see any new questions, I will pull them up. For now, refreshing the timeline one more time before the last minute or two. And it doesn't look like we're going to get anything. I'm actually going to refresh the timeline to make sure there's nothing on the timeline that I've missed. But overall, it looks like no leaks before this deadline, which is usually good news. And we're happy to get into Game Week 24, locked in, and start to roll some free transfers. I'm really excited for this, lads. I think today we have a great run of fixtures. Again, if you have enjoyed the stream, do hit the like button and subscribe. Again, I can't thank you enough for supporting the channel. We are closing in slowly but surely onto 10k subscribers, and it is great to see such an audience in here, even though I'm having a very, very suboptimal season so far this season. So thank you again for joining me. Come on, you Spurs. Good to see you, Joe, in chat showing face. I'm just going to refresh the timeline because the deadline has still not passed. But one last refresh to make sure we've not got any leaks, and it doesn't look like it's going to be the case. But that's been everything from myself, lads. Do keep an eye on my channel. We will be doing a transfer plans, usually on a Sunday or Monday, so stay tuned. And again, your support on the actual channel has been amazing. Let's quickly pull up how the channel has went. And in my last few videos, I mean, you're smashing the views, smashing the likes, and I have to say I do really appreciate it. So amazing stream as usual. Thank you to all the channel members, and as usual, lads, I will see you in the next.